With two major planets in retrograde right now, it's really easy to feel as though things have just completely ground to a halt, or anything that is moving feels like it's moving slow as mud. And that is so profoundly frustrating when we just want to do what we're doing. We want life to just go in a simple, straightforward direction, right? But if we can look past that frustration, I'd love for you to imagine the last time that you were forced to pause and wait. Because sometimes when we're forced to just kind of sit still because something isn't happening or something didn't come through, it's in that moment of pausing and waiting that we realize what we really, really want. Or sometimes we realize what we really don't want. And it's in that pause, it's in that moment of reflection that sometimes we become aware of options that we didn't even realize we had. That is exactly the quality of time right now. Welcome back to my channel. I'm Erin, I'm Queen Bee Tarot. I'm here for you right now with some detailed horoscopes for all 12 zodiac signs. Timestamps and chapters are below. I'm going to start with a general overview, and then I'm going to get into detailed horoscopes for each 12 zodiac signs. So are you ready? Okay. Mercury is retrograde, Mars is retrograde, but there's a huge vibe shift right now. And it makes me think a lot about times where we're like, let's say you're going to work or something like that, and you're in your vehicle or whatever it is, and maybe you get stuck in traffic. If you're just driving and you're just going about your day and doing your thing, a lot of it ends up being autopilot, right? You're not even really so much thinking about what you're doing, it's just automatic. But when we're forced to sit, sometimes it's that moment of just kind of being stuck in traffic or whatever it is. Maybe some sort of massive light bulb goes off inside of your mind. Either realizing something about yourself or your life, or like I said, options. We're in the middle of Sagittarius season right now. And in 1 week, we have a full moon in Gemini. And what's really interesting about the contrast, but the similarities between these two signs, is that they are some of the most resourceful zodiac signs out there. For example, Gemini energy. Gemini energy is around like networking, communication, crowdsourcing. If you ever want to kind of figure out something, ask a Gemini, because they're going to know all the things. They're going to know all the gossip, all the tea. They're going to know the details, the person you should call, the direction you should go, right? So Gemini is very, very resourceful as far as kind of bringing together lots of little details, or also bringing together people. And Sagittarius is really resourceful as far as shooting for the stars. Sagittarius energy is really hopeful, positive, optimistic. If this doesn't work, that's totally fine. Let's try this, this, and this, right? Let's just keep going. Let's figure it out. So between the two, the sun is in Sagittarius, the moon is about to be full in Gemini. And in that dynamic, it is about realizing either, if one pathway is not working, let's try a couple different directions, right? If the attempts that I'm making to connect either personally or professionally with a person or a group of people, if that isn't working, no problem. Let's move on, right? So that's what's really cool about the energy right now, is that even if in a lot of ways, because we have two major planets retrograde, even if it feels like things are kind of slow or grinding to a halt, it is in that moment of pause that we are offered an opportunity to reassess the direction that we're going in, reassess the plans that we have lined up, renegotiate the terms of the contracts or the interactions or agreements that we have. So any situation in which you're kind of feeling like, okay, man, things aren't working, right? It is a beautiful potential to reassess and maybe kind of rethink, because in that moment of pause, something even better could come into your awareness. So the other thing I wanted to talk about is that, as we closed out last week, just yesterday, Mars went retrograde. Today is Sunday, December 8th. It was just yesterday that Mars went retrograde. And we have a Friday the 13th coming up in a week. And ironically, on Friday the 13th, Mercury comes out of retrograde and starts moving direct. The other thing that happened yesterday is that Venus moved into Aquarius and Neptune went direct. So what I want to do is kind of like tie it all together for you and help you understand the bigger picture. So the quality of time, the astrology right now, two major planets, Mars and Mercury, because they're so close to the sun, any of the inner planets, which would be Mercury, Venus, and Mars, anytime those guys go retrograde, it has a very personal effect on us. Whereas the outer planets, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, because they're further out in the solar system, when they go retrograde, it has more of a kind of background effect. It does affect us, but not so personally, not so deeply. So with Mercury retrograde right now, all that we think, all that we're communicating, including the plans that we're making, the agreements that we're creating, whether it be signing a contract, getting into some sort of lease or purchase or anything like that, Mercury is associated with those details, really, really important details. And when Mercury goes retrograde, which it does about 3 times a year, it does feel like sometimes like phone calls get missed or emails get kind of messed up. Maybe you send the email to the wrong person or you text the wrong person, whatever it is, right? It is associated with those kinds of snafus, but more along the lines of like minor irritations, not kind of like life-changing. Although if you send a text to the wrong person, that could be a major thing. But when Mars is retrograde, it just went retrograde yesterday. Mars is going to be retrograde until February 23rd. This is a big deal because Mars is the planet associated with action. And when Mars is retrograde, it feels as though action is not happening. Now, Mars is currently in the zodiac sign Leo. Leo is the proud lion. Leo is all about our identity, character development, but also like the role we play out there in society. So here's where like the pause is actually really, really helpful. Let's say, with Mars being retrograde in Leo, that means that anything that we are doing, especially in the context of character development or advancing our own career or simply advancing our own interests, pursuing what it is that we want and what we desire, when those things kind of get pulled back, when it feels like something that we're trying to do is not happening, the first reaction, especially because Mars is in Leo, is going to be some sort of ego reaction. I want to do this. It's not happening. Why do I always go through stuff like this? So we're going to take it really, really personally. And I like to be able to share that because I want everybody to understand that's natural. That is totally, totally, totally normal to feel discouraged, especially with this kind of astrological influence. But after we get past those emotions, if we're able to go, wait a minute, what if that thing that I wanted to do, what if it isn't in my highest good? What if it actually isn't going to help me be my best self or live my best life? So that's why I want to kind of encourage everybody, if it feels like something is being held back or just not happening, take 2 steps back, don't push through and go, okay, maybe I need to take a closer look at these plans. Maybe I need to take a closer look at the fine print or the details. Or maybe I need to think about whether or not this really is going to get me to where I want to be in my life. And if asking all of those questions, if you come around and you say, yeah, actually, this is meant for me. This is what I want. I am focused on the details. My plans are tickety-boo and totally fine. Awesome. Then you can wait for the right moment and advance when the path becomes clear. That's going to happen for some of you guys. It's going to be affirming, right? Whereas for the rest of us, it's going to feel doubt and insecurity inducing. Because sometimes the side effect of Mars, the action planet, being retrograde in Leo, which is identity, is to feel as though something is personal. And because we are personally affected, yeah, it feels personal, right? So there's always going to be a little bit of legitimacy, but also a little bit of kind of maybe taking things a little bit too personally. What we want to do is just remember that when the current is moving a certain way, to push against it, to swim against the current, it's possible, but it's exhausting. And I want to use the example of a salmon. Salmon, really, really, really cool fish. They are born in freshwater streams. They are born inland. And what they do throughout their life cycle is they leave fresh water and they go out to the ocean where it's salt water. And they spend a chunk of time, couple years, and then they come back to those streams when they're ready to reproduce and die. And you know what they do? They swim upstream. There's some really, really cool videos all over the place of salmon swimming up a freaking waterfall. I couldn't do that, right? But this little fish is like, let's go, right? And we have to admire that kind of dogged determination. It's amazing what nature can do, right? So here's where I'm saying it's not impossible, you know, if you reflect, if you think about your plans, if you totally like pause and think, okay, actually, yeah, this is meant for me, then heck yeah, swim up that waterfall, my friend. But, you know, for some of us, it's going to be actually the realization that the path that we wanted to take is not in our highest good, or the action that we had planned out is actually going to be exhausting or not achieve the goal that we were hoping for, right? So as far as the current of time, as far as the quality of the energy right now, as a collective, we are being encouraged to take any and every opportunity to pause, to reflect, and to reassess. And if after that time you still are really, really happy with your plans, awesome, full steam ahead, right? But for most of us, it's going to feel like things have really kind of ground to a halt until February 23rd. And right around the end of February, it's going to take a little bit of time for Mars to get some momentum. By March, it's going to feel as though it's full steam ahead. I'm going to jump ahead a little bit in the astrology forecast here, because in March, right around March 25th of next year, we are going to have something really, really, really interesting happen. Neptune and Saturn are both in Pisces right now, and they're going to be moving into Aries, tiptoeing into Aries, starting March of next year. This is especially significant because Neptune, that takes a couple hundred years to do one full cycle around the zodiac, for Neptune to move into Aries is a very, very significant event, just like Pluto moving into Aquarius was, simply because those outer planets move so slowly that for them to ingress into a new zodiac sign is kind of like a big freaking deal. What makes it even more of a big freaking deal is that Saturn and Neptune in Pisces means that they are wrapping up a journey through the entire zodiac. Pisces is the last sign of the zodiac. And when they move into Aries, the first sign of the zodiac, it represents a collective fresh start. And with so many major planets, Pluto, Neptune, and Saturn, making these major transitions that started this year with Pluto and then into next year with Saturn and Neptune, it represents that the quality of time, the fabric of time and space, is being woven every day by our choices, by our intentions, by our energies, and we are collectively weaving a new fabric of time for humanity. Why I want to mention this is because one of the biggest things that's happening in the very beginning of this week is that the moon is going to be moving through Pisces and then into Aries. And while it does that, it's going to touch these planets that are still in Pisces. And so we, on an emotional and intuitive level, like I said about the whole pause and reflect thing, if you give yourself the opportunity to pause and reflect, the quality of time right now is kind of like finishing university. It's kind of like final exams on a like life lesson kind of level. As far as we are all being given the opportunity right now to think, okay, as far as like my entire life, you know what I mean? What have I learned? Where am I going? And what is it that my heart desires, right? I heard this really sad saying the other day. Most people die around 25, but we don't end up being buried until 75 or 80. Right? You're thinking about that for a second. You're like, wait a minute, how can you die around 25 and be buried around 75 or 80? It's because society kills the spark in our heart, right? There are so many ways that our life force, the burning flame inside of our soul, there are so many ways that life really squashes our spirit. Sometimes it happens in our family of origin, sometimes it happens in our adult lives, right? But what we're experiencing right now, especially with chaos and change and transformation and a lot of really, really, really discouraging news stories, that it is very easy to feel hopeless right now. It is very easy to have a high level of discomfort and despair when we look at the direction that the collective of humanity is going right now. And so it becomes an act of rebellion to burn brightly. It becomes an act of rebellion to find hope and to find solace. And I don't mean the whole kind of pie in the sky, it's fine, love and light. No, that kind of fake positivity is toxic because it isn't real, because it's not grounded in reality. And a lot of modern new age practices of like, let's be happy. Yes, it's important to be happy, but you can't be happy if you don't acknowledge why you feel sad or exhausted or depleted, right? We have to find that balance. And so as we're leading to this full moon in Gemini, we are encouraged to kind of bring all these pieces together. And if anytime over the next few months, if you have any opportunity, take any opportunity to pause and reflect and think about that spark inside of your heart. Think about that light that burns brightly, or maybe it used to burn brightly and maybe it doesn't burn very brightly anymore, right? It becomes an act of self-preservation and rebellion to essentially go full stop with anything that you are able to full stop, so that you can refocus on how can I be healthy? How can I be in alignment with my soul's mission in this lifetime? Or how can I feel good even in little ways about the life that I'm living, or the energy that I'm sharing, or the relationships that I'm cultivating, right? It becomes so easy to get lost in the hustle because the cost of living, right? As if any of us have a second to stop and breathe. And that's why when things feel like they're grinding to a halt, many of us will kind of have a like kind of reaction because life is already hard without feeling as though there's a roadblock put in the way of our progress, right? So there is going to be a lot of emotions, but at the same time, with these planetary transitions that are in progress right now and are going to continue into next year, we're given an opportunity to really kind of recalibrate our light. You know, we just came out of Scorpio season, which was very, very focused on shadow work. But now that we're in the middle of Sagittarius season, it's that complementary, it's that yin and yang, it's that balance, right? Scorpio season was about shadow work. Sagittarius season is about light work. And sometimes being a light worker means sharing your spark and helping other people find their spark, right? And sometimes it's the smallest little things that make the biggest difference. So as I was saying, today is Sunday, December 8th, and the moon is moving through Pisces. Venus just moved into Aquarius, so there is a bit of an energy right now of either feeling benevolent or wise or some sort of calm acceptance, which is beautiful to, wrap up this weekend and start the new week. But there's also kind of this energy of like struggling to find the light, struggling to find the hope, but it is in that struggle that we do find it. And it is in that struggle that we realize what is getting in the way of hope, or what is getting in the way of us shining brightly. And then on Monday, the moon moves into Aries. So as much as you can, anytime you have those moments of realizing the truth about yourself, the life, universe, anything, hold it dear, right? Protect your peace, protect your sacred hope, protect your sacred heart as much as you can. Don't let the world squash your hope. And in these times, it can feel very discouraging, but don't give up hope. Hold on to your light. It's so important. The world needs you. The world needs your spark. You are important. Your feelings matter and your light matters. So much so. So Monday the moon moves into Aries. It is an energy, this weekend has a very kind of ethereal, wise, calm, reflective energy. And as soon as Monday starts, it's like, let's freaking go. Moon in Aries is an energy, an emotional energy of not wanting to feel stuck Therefore, any action is good action, right? When the moon is in Aries, as it will be Monday and Tuesday, if you feel emotionally overwhelmed, the best outlet for it is always going to be physical activity, depending on whatever your physical abilities are. Moving the physical body helps that excess energy, especially tension and frustration, be released in the healthiest way possible. Another way to work with the moon in Aries is to do something productive with your hands, building something, fixing something, cleaning something, for example, right? But staying busy is going to be a really, really good choice in the beginning of the week. And a great way to kind of get some momentum going as well. Wednesday. Wednesday, the moon moves into Taurus. What's really interesting is every time the moon is in a fixed sign, because of where all the planets are, when the moon is in a fixed sign, it is encountering challenging planetary relationships with all the rest of the planets in our solar system. And what that means is that when our emotions are stuck, stagnant, or stubborn, we are working against our own good. And while the moon is in either cardinal, which is getting something started, or mutable signs, which is kind of wrapping things up, those planetary relationships are actually really positive, really helpful, and are going to help us get that excess or stagnant energy moving. So the biggest message right now is, as much as you can within your abilities, try not to get stuck. Because our emotions have a way of anchoring us. But if we're able to keep busy, if we're able to just find one thing to brighten our day or to focus on as far as a goal. I love treats. I love rewards. You know, if I'm facing some sort of a challenging, difficult day, I love thinking, okay, I'm going to have a treat at the end of the day. It helps a lot as far as our own psychology and as far as our own resilience, you know. Resilience is not necessarily something that you're born with, but it is something that can be cultivated. And resilience comes from learning how to cheer yourself on, learning how to set reasonable goals, but also reward yourself at appropriate intervals to kind of keep that positive momentum going. And keeping positive momentum going is definitely kind of the theme in this first week here. Now, Thursday, Venus forms in opposition to Mars. Venus and Mars are kind of like two sides of the same coin. Venus is in Aquarius, Mars is in Leo. As I mentioned, Mars is retrograde right now. So even though it will feel over the next 3 months like the action we want to take is either blocked or stagnant, or if it is moving, slow as mud, even though that's happening, Venus in Aquarius is actually a blessing, because Venus is all about abundance, trust, comfort, connection. And in the sign of Aquarius, it's all about, okay, let's try something brand new. Let's think outside the box. Let's come up with alternative plans, contingency plans, plan A, B, C, and D, whatever it is. So Venus is going to help us go, that's okay, let's think of what's next. Let's think of a different way to do this. So it's going to really, really help a lot. And the other thing that's going to become really, really clear when Venus forms in opposition to Mars is where and when we are stuck in our own way. Because with Mars retrograde in Leo, like I was saying, having big emotions or feeling as though maybe life is against you, it's Mars in Leo, Mars retrograde in Leo is definitely going to activate our own inner pity party. This is a natural reaction. The thing that we have to remember is that emotions will happen. You cannot stop your body from having emotions, and being mad at yourself for having emotions or trying to stuff them or hide them is always going to be counterproductive. So the best thing we can possibly do is say, thank you, Spirit, for showing me what's important to me, right? When we feel upset, when we feel angry, what we're receiving is information that we're disappointed that something didn't work out or that a boundary has been crossed, right? So emotions always carry useful information. However, getting stuck in yucky emotions will always work against us. So to be able to validate and acknowledge those emotions, go, okay, I feel like a bag of garbage right now. I'm really, really upset that this isn't working out or whatever. What can I do to distract myself? Or what can I do to come up with a different plan moving forwards? Or like as a self-employed person, for example, my work, sometimes I'll be absolutely bogged down with a packed schedule, and then other times my week will be completely empty. And when my week was empty, it's very triggering because, of course, as a self-employed person, I'd be like, oh my God, what am I going to do? Instant panic. But what I had to learn, what I had to teach myself is say, okay, feelings, thank you. I understand. Yes, I'm kind of panicking right now, but that's okay. I can balance my books. I can clean my house. I can walk my dog. I can do something nice for myself. I can prepare for next week, so that when I am busy, this is taken care of, this is taken care of, and this has already been done, right? And so learning how to make the best use of our time, learning how to make any situation work for us, it becomes a life skill that we have to practice, but it's all part of resiliency. So that's the biggest theme, right? So on Thursday, when Venus opposes Mars, even if it feels like things are moving backwards, there is going to be some sort of light at the end of the tunnel. There is going to be some sort of alternative plan, or maybe something completely unrelated that if you put your energy into it is going to feel very rewarding or very satisfying. So as much as you can, I would just encourage you, try not to get stuck. It is natural. Excuse me. It happens to everybody. But as soon as you realize you're stuck, see what you can do to like change the vibe with some music, move your physical body, look at your to-do list and think, okay, what else can I do right now? It's going to take work, right? I'm not going to lie. It's definitely going to take work. It's definitely going to feel challenging, but this whole like feeling like we're doing final exams when it comes to kind of the university of our life, right? Or the experiences that we're having. As much as we can pause and reflect and learn and reassess, that will be making the best use of this challenging time. Moving into the second week of these horoscopes, Mercury is really cooperating really nicely with Venus right now, and that's where if you're willing to look for whatever pathway is open, if you're willing to be open-minded as far as options, possibilities, alternative plans, they will be there. But it's just going to take a little bit of effort and a little bit of open-mindedness. And as we move into the second week, 1 week from now, Sunday, December 15th, is the full moon. And what's really fun about the full moon in Gemini is that Mercury goes direct the same day. It really felt like it wasn't that long as far as this current Mercury retrograde. Although I'm a Virgo, my ruling planet is Mercury, so it always affects me big time. But this one hasn't felt too bad, honestly. Knock on wood. The full moon in Gemini is on Sunday. It's 4 a.m. Eastern, so it's kind of overnight, Saturday, Sunday, if you have any intentions of doing spell work or manifestations or honorings or offerings, anything like that. But I wanted to talk about tables turning. And I got the idea of tables turning because of a funny little astrological symbol. Let me show it to you here. Okay. I don't know if you can see this. Okay. This little angle is an inconjunct, and this little angle is a semi-sextile. You see how this looks like a picnic table turned upside down? And this looks like a picnic table right side up? Okay. This is the chart for the full moon. And see this green line between the sun and Uranus? That's like the right side up picnic table sign. And this little green line between the moon and Uranus, that's like the upside down picnic table line. Here's where I'm going with this. Stay with me here, okay? Because even when we're talking about heavy stuff, I'm going to try and bring in some humor, and I'm going to try and teach you a little bit about how the astrology affects us. So, okay, this long line, like I was saying, is like the right side up picnic table sign. What it is that it's, if the sun was going directly straight ahead, but it's not, it's one step over. So when a planet is almost straight across, but it's one step over, it's as if you have invited somebody new to your table. And you may not understand them, you may not know them, but you don't have any problem with them. It's just like, oh, I've never met you before, right? Whereas when two planets are in the signs next to each other, they're only 30 degrees apart, and there's a sense of like oil and water. Sometimes sometimes two signs next to each other can have an initial connection of opposites attract, but what often happens is that the more that they get to know each other, the more that they realize they are just oil and water on completely different planets. And that is like flipping a table over and being like, bah! And having some sort of massive conflict because things are so completely different. So, because during this full moon, the sun is having a right side up picnic table relationship with Uranus, the planet of change and evolution, that means that even if we do not understand the ways in which we are growing, evolving, and learning, we're open to it. If we are willing to shine a light, the sun represents shining a light on something, especially character development. So if we are willing to stay open-minded, if we're willing to kind of shine a light on the ways in which we are being invited to change, transform, grow, and evolve, we will make the most out of this situation. It may feel like new information. It may feel like contradictory to what we're already doing. But if you can remain open-minded, you will see how it is in your benefit. You will see how it will be a really, really healthy choice to evolve and grow within whatever context, within whatever situation that you're in right now. But emotions, man, emotions are always the sticky wicket. The moon represents our emotions. And with the moon in Gemini at the time of this full moon, it is feeling as though our emotions are like a room full, like a party, a room full of people. Gemini is represented by the twins. It's kind of like all the many different facets of our personality, the faces of our soul, right? The different hats we wear, the different versions of our personality. With the moon in Gemini at the time of this full moon, there is a lot of awareness being put on the ways in which we might be fractured souls, the ways in which we might be stunted in our emotional maturity and development, the ways in which we might be lost in gossip or images or distractions, whatever the case may be. And here's where things get complicated, is that if our emotions take over, we're going to notice this change. We're going to notice, we're going to see, and we're going to flip the table and be like, I don't want to. So that's the challenge of this full moon. This full moon is going to help the collective see the infinite or just substantial options in front of us. But And if we're willing to shine a light on them and be patient and be open-minded, we're going to see the pathway through. We're going to see the exit door. We're going to see the light at the end of the tunnel. But if our emotions get in the way, if we act childish, if we get stuck in a pity party, if our ego takes over, if our pride takes over, then we're going to bomb this opportunity. We're going to flip the table. We're going to throw the opportunity out the door because we're too stuck in our own perspective. So every single one of us is going to experience this energetic potential. It is not necessarily going to be comfortable, but it is going to offer us an opportunity to see more clearly. And like I said, with this full moon activating Sagittarius and Gemini, it is all about being resourceful. It is all about, okay, if one door is closed, let's find whichever door or window is open so that we can continue making progress, right? So that's kind of like the biggest thing happening right now. Just noticing where and when we're getting in our own way. No big deal, right? Yeah. Oh man, it's human, right? Every single one of us is going to be dealing with these very, very human challenges, right? But that's what being a human is like. And then moving into the second week of these horoscopes, at the same time as the full moon, Mercury goes direct. And it's like, as soon as we are willing to notice that open door, we're going to have moments being like, oh my God, I can't even believe I didn't see it before. I can't believe I didn't realize that this was an opportunity. I can't believe I didn't even notice. You know what I mean? this pathway right in front of me. So if you're willing to, it's going to be right there. Wednesday, December 18th, the sun forms a square to Neptune. And what that means is that halfway through this second week, Wednesday, December 18th, there are going to be moments in which our own habits, our own ego, our own pride, our own stubbornness is going to throw some sort of an obstacle in the way of our growth and evolution. Again, it is totally normal, totally natural, but do be prepared around Wednesday, December 18th. Do be prepared to feel as though you have set yourself back in some sort of way, either by tripping over yourself or making a rookie mistake or repeating a pattern that you didn't want to. It's really important to just dust yourself off. You're like, crap, let's try again, right? Every step of the way with this astrological influence, we are going to, at times, feel like children. The one thing that I'd love to share is that every single one of us grown-ups is like 85% just faking it, right? It's very, I really don't think anybody has it all figured out. I certainly don't. And not to say that my perspective trumps all, but it's like, yeah, we're all, you know what I mean? We're all stumbling our way through. Every single person on this planet is stumbling their way through, but it's so easy, especially through media, the news, you know what I mean? It's so easy to look around and be like, man, everybody else has it figured out. Why do I feel like such a goof? Why do I feel like I'm just like struggling, right? It's perspective, it's not reality. Right? It is so easy to look at people, for example, on social media and be like, man, they look like $1 million. They look like they're living their best lives. It's good lighting, it's good makeup, and it is so freaking fake, right? So don't let illusions discourage you. Don't let surface value perceptions make you feel as though your life or your progress or your contribution is insignificant or not good enough compared to other people. That is a huge risk while Mars is retrograde in Leo. And it's so important to be able to shrug that off and be like, whatever, everybody's faking it. Nobody has it all figured out, right? I'm doing good. I'm doing the best I can, and that's good. Right? And then give yourself a little pat on the back and maybe go have a treat. I forgot to say, on the full moon, the sun is going to be in the exact same spot as a little asteroid named Eros. Eros is like Cupid. Eros is like demonstrative love right here. So what that means is the more that we can lock into love being the truth, right? How do I put this? This is kind of a little bit of a side quest, a little tangent. Louise Hay is an incredible author, and she has done a lot of work as far as helping people. Her big catchphrase is change your mind, change your life. And I love that because what she's referring to is how our internal perceptions are either going to make or break our life. You know, we can go through the exact same situations as anybody else, but if our internal perception is, I'm a loser, I suck, I'll never be good enough, nobody's gonna like me, whatever sort of negative loop we're in, if we have that sort of perception, life is going to suck because we are constantly beating ourselves up. But if you can change your mind, you can change your life. And again, it's not about toxic positivity, but it is about giving yourself a freaking break. Don't beat yourself up, right? Encourage yourself. Be like, okay, yeah, that totally sucked and that was a big mistake and I could have done better, but that's okay. Let's try again. Let's brush it off. Let's make amends if I need to. Let's make repairs. Let's focus on doing better next time. Let's come up with a plan for next time. Whatever it is, right? And so with the sun conjunct Eros on the full moon, what that means is that the more you can shine a light on being loving to yourself, the more you will be able to see the light in your life. And if you just ask spirit, ask universe, ask the force, show me the way, show me the truth, show me the light, it will be shown to you. And it is about inviting in as much new information as possible. That is the quality of time right now. Invite in as much new information, as much of a well-rounded perspective as you possibly can, because that will be the antidote to getting stuck or being really, really down on yourself. Stay open, keep learning, keep reading, stay curious, right? And then, yeah, Thursday, December 19th, excuse me, Venus forms a really supportive angle to Jupiter. That's going to be a very positive, very happy, very generous kind of rose-colored glasses sort of day. Really, really, really good vibes Thursday, December 19th. Awesome, awesome day. And then Saturday, December 21st, the sun moves into Capricorn. That is the winter solstice for the Northern Hemisphere. Huge change in seasons. It is the darkest day of the year. But then after that, the days start getting longer and lighter. It is technically the beginning of winter, but what we're doing is we're kind of turning a corner as far as the furthest point away from the sun, and we're coming back to the light. So that's what I got for you guys. I hope that helped. I'm going to jump into the individual horoscopes for all 12 zodiac signs. We are looking at the need for fluidity, the need for adaptivity during this time of with these retrograde planets, feeling like we're being held back, feeling like things are just moving slow as mud. And it's all about, okay, what alternatives are out there? How can I make the best use of my time? How can I come up with a contingency plan, whatever it is? So we're going to be looking at Mars retrograde. We're going to be looking at Neptune going direct, and Venus conjunct Pluto. You know, now that Venus is in Aquarius, it's hanging out with Pluto, which is empowerment. So we're going to be looking at empowerment, and we're going to be looking at the whole flipping the table thing I was talking about, with the sun forming a happy table relationship with Uranus, but the moon having kind of like a flipping the table relationship with Uranus. At the time of the full moon, what we're looking at is how our emotions might potentially be taking us right off the tracks. But a willingness to stay open and open-minded, a willingness to stay curious is going to help us see the way, the truth, and the light. And yeah, winter solstice. There's a lot going on, but like I said, it's just kind of like, it is that feeling of almost like having final exams. It is an opportunity to pause, reflect, and reassess so that any efforts we put forward, especially moving into next year, are going to be more focused, more clear, more healthy, and productive. All right. I will see you guys in a quick second. All right, you guys. Aries sun and Aries rising, let's get in. Mars is retrograde. Mars is your ruling planet. You guys are definitely going to be most affected by Mars retrograde over the next 3 months. It does come out of retrograde February 23rd, but it's not going to feel like it really gets moving until March. And so you may feel as though a lot of stuff in your life has kind of ground to a halt, or will feel it like it's grinding to a halt over the next couple of months. The biggest risk for you guys, because Mars is retrograde in your 5th house, the biggest risk for you guys is feeling as though life is against you. Because the effect of Mars retrograde is not going to be limited to just one particular part of your life. Because it's your ruling planet, it's going to feel as though you are being held back. And it's going to be a big struggle, but a huge growth opportunity to be able to take a step back and be like, okay, life does not pick on anyone, right? And where and when can I recognize that maybe my perceptions are making things harder? Maybe my state of mind, maybe my need for mental health is really the biggest challenge here, right? With Mars retrograde in Leo, it is forming this really, really, really supportive angle to Mercury right now. And so that's where we see an awesome growth opportunity. Even though you are going to feel as though you are personally being held back, and the more that you can focus on your state of mind, specifically your belief systems. Like, if something happens, what does your brain think about it? Do you automatically have a reaction of either like, I suck, life sucks, everything sucks, they suck, whatever it is, right? Or do you have a reaction like, okay, this sucks, but I could do this. I believe in myself, whatever, it's fine. I'll figure it out, you know, because it's our state of mind that's either going to make or break our mental health. So the growth opportunity, even though everything is slowing down with these retrograde planets, the growth opportunity for you guys is to notice where and when you have a reaction that is potentially either full of self-pity or inappropriate given the circumstances. And I really want to hammer home though, your emotions are not the problem. Please don't ever, ever, ever feel bad for feeling bad. There's a really cool little Sesame Street about that, actually, if you want to look it up. It's this cartoon where it's this goat, and he goes like, it ain't bad to feel mad. Don't ever feel bad for feeling bad. That's the most important thing. But what we want to do is notice, okay, is my brain kind of going off the tracks right now with a little bit of a pity party? And if so, that's a growth opportunity to work on resilience, to work on being my own best cheerleader, to reach out for support if my mental health is crumbling, to reach out and delegate if it feels like there's way too much on my plate right now, or whatever it is. So yeah, it's going to feel like things are held back. Yeah, it's going to feel like pretty much everything is slow as mud for you right now, just because it's your ruling planet. But if you can change your perceptions, if you can change the thought patterns around your experience of feeling stuck or held back, that's going to be your exit door, and that's going to help you get through the next couple of months with ease and grace. And this whole growth opportunity, character development, yay. Now that Neptune is direct, it is moving through your 12th house. And so what that means is if you make your mental health the highest priority or close to it, you are going to be able to live the life of your dreams. You are going to be able to be your best self. It really is the common thread. It really is the answer to everything. And it really is the number one place for you to put your efforts if you aren't already. Now, if you have been prioritizing your mental health, if you have been making that your highest priority, this is actually going to be really testing but affirming. Because any sort of big emotions, any sort of pity party that gets kicked up by the crappy circumstances happening right now, if you have been prioritizing your mental health, you're going to be like, okay, now it's time to practice. Where's my comfort kit? What is my protocol? You know, call a friend, go see my therapist, whatever it is that your contingency plan is for shitty days, you're going to have the perfect opportunity to put it into practice and immediately see the results. Immediately see, oh, okay, wow, that made me feel way better, right? The other opportunity you have to empower yourself is that Venus has joined Pluto in Aquarius right now, opposite Mars. So as much as you're going to have a lot of very deeply personal feelings, like feeling like life sucks, or feeling like life is against you, or whatever it is, at the same time with Venus in Aquarius right now in your 11th house, and I think we talked about this last week too, any opportunity to help someone who has less advantages than you is going to help you see your privilege in better perspective. And when I say privilege, you know, it's very easy to be like, no, things are hard. I'm not privileged. If you're watching this on the phone, you have privilege. If you have a roof over your head, you have privilege, right? We definitely don't have as much privilege as certain oligarchs taking over the world right now, but that's a whole nother story. So as much as we can put our privileges into perspective, it helps us get through the really crappy things that we have to deal with, right? So I want to validate anything that's causing you grief, that's real, right? But we can't be, you can't be mad at yourself for having feelings. You got to love yourself through those feelings. And then you got to put into practice whatever mental health plan that you have. Because that is 99% of it for you guys right now. By being aware of how you can make things harder for yourself as far as what you think, what you believe, and what you say to yourself, the more you can be aware of that, the more you can work around it, and the more that you can help yourself feel better. And then as we move into, the full moon is Sunday, December 15th. So I had a little mantra. I wrote out a little mantra, a little affirmation for each zodiac sign. And the one that I came up with for you guys is I seek and I find understanding. The more that we can stay open and look for understanding, look for opportunities, the more we keep our mind fresh. The ways in which we get stuck, the ways in which we are struggling with our mental health, one of the biggest aspects of that is declaring something to be true when it usually isn't. Any of those always or never statements, any of those ways in which we're like, I suck, I always suck. Life is hard, life is always hard. When we have those declaratory statements that are anchored in some sort of certainty, black and white certainty, always or never, that actually closes doors for us. And so the more we can say, okay, right now sucks, but things aren't always gonna suck. I can get through this. I've gotten through shitty days before. I can get through this one too. That opens doors, that opens possibilities, that actually boosts our morale. I just thought of this shirt I saw once, and it was a pirate shirt, and he was like, beatings will continue until morale improves, right? Whatever you can do to crack yourself up. I know you guys usually have a pretty awesome, sometimes dark sense of humor. The more you can laugh, the more you can move through this experience. Because really the most important thing is aligning with your values. And if you are not feeling valued or appreciated, those feelings are valid. But rather than saying nobody will ever appreciate me, if you're not being appreciated, if it's within your power, you might want to go somewhere else where you will be appreciated. You know what I mean? Instead of just being like, things are always going to suck. Does that make sense? I hope I'm helping you see the light. I hope I'm helping you see the way to avoid drowning in discouragement, right? Because life is very hard right now. But if we can be our own cheerleader, what we're doing is we're kind of giving ourselves a flotation device so that we don't drown. And this too shall pass. It's just that Mars retrograde, because it's your ruling planet, is going to feel especially tricky over the next couple of months. But what I do see is that Venus conjunct Pluto in Aquarius, as we were talking about, it's the 11th house. It's about finding meaning. So either by doing charity work, helping somebody who's disadvantaged, using your privilege to empower somebody else, or if none of those things really fit with your life or your vibe, you could also enjoy music. You could also enjoy art. You could go enjoy a performance or something like that. The idea is transcendence, because if you find that your life is stagnant, if you find that your headspace is stagnant, for example, new information, new conversations, new connections, new activities, these things can freshen things up and help us get out of a stagnant time. And then when the sun moves into Capricorn, it's going to move into your 10th house. So starting December 21st for an entire month, the light is going to be shown on your pathway moving forwards. You may see obstacles better. You may see your own strengths better. And you may see opportunities better. So stay curious, my friends. Hang in there. This too shall pass. Mwah! Thank you so much for being here. I hope you enjoyed your horoscopes. Please feel free to like and share and subscribe if you did. I also have a tip jar down below if you feel inspired and you're able. Thank you so much for being here, and I will see you guys in 2 weeks. Take care. Bye. Taurus Sun and Taurus Rising, welcome to your horoscopes. Yeah, we're kind of in the middle of retrograde season, and Mars just went retrograde. Mars is the planet of action, therefore personal, professional, collective action is going to feel as though it's grinding to a halt until late February. But what it means for all of us is that anything that isn't moving, anything that is like stalled out or stagnant, gives us an opportunity to ask really important questions like, is this really where I want to be putting my energy? Is there anything else that I could be doing right now to make the best use of this time? So stay curious, stay open, and look for opportunities, look for possibilities, because they are out there, even if the door in front of you feels closed. Now, with Mars retrograde in Leo, for you guys, it's going to be your 4th house. The 4th house is family and home. It could be your literal home. It could also be your sacred heart. And the 4th house is all about emotional stability. It's all about feeling as though our cup is full so that we're able to go out in the world and do our thing. While Mars is retrograde, what it might mean for you is recognizing and noticing if your cup isn't full, and then offering you an opportunity to kind of do full stop as far as filling other people's cups, and look at your own self and be like, okay, I'm going to prioritize me. I'm going to prioritize my well-being. I'm going to prioritize eating well, sleeping well. You may find until late February, early March, you may find with Mars retrograde in your 4th house that you don't want to go anywhere. Now, there is a small portion of you guys out there, Taurus Sun, Taurus Rising. For some of you guys, this influence means that your plans on moving house are going to be stalled or pushed back until the spring. Mars moving through the 4th house often is associated with moving, like literally moving, packing up your house and moving to a different place. So for some of you guys who have plans to move, it is going to feel as though those plans are not happening. They are going to be postponed or held back until the spring. But for other people where there isn't such a literal translation of this transit, it's just going to mean that you need to focus on refilling your cup. You might be dealing with emotional exhaustion. You might be dealing with physical exhaustion, whatever it is. They are so deeply connected. As much as you can, prioritize yourself, prioritize your rest and your well-being. If you don't want to socialize, don't socialize, right? Take care of yourself. That's going to be your winning strategy over the next couple of months. The other thing too is that Mars is forming a really supportive angle to Mercury right now. So the connection that they're making is, especially because with Mars in your 4th house and Mercury is in your 8th house, Mercury in your 8th house means that you are noticing patterns. You're noticing repeating patterns, whether they are, in your physical reality or like within yourself. But the 8th house is all about repeating patterns, especially karmic ones. If you are noticing, for example, that you have a pattern of taking care of everybody else but not yourself, then what you're going to be noticing is, I need to stop that pattern. I need to fill my own cup, because maybe you're dealing with exhaustion, burnout, whatever it is. Sometimes we don't even realize that we're exhausted and burnt out. Sometimes the only thing we notice is that we're just pissed off all the time. So that's usually a big clue. It's usually a big clue that you're just not putting enough energy into yourself. Be a healthy level of selfish, and that's going to help you get through the winter. The other thing too is that Neptune just went direct, and Neptune is the planet of living your best life or aligning with your ideals. And with Neptune direct in your 11th house of community, kind of like the big world out there, you may be realizing that you actually want to do a big shift as far as how you expend energy, what it is that you dedicate your time and attention to, and maybe wanting to move into something that is either more humanitarian or more arts and music based. So you may find over the next couple of months that your tastes are changing. Maybe you committed to something and you ended up changing your mind and being like, I don't really want to do that. Whatever it is, give yourself the time and space. Give yourself the opportunity to change your mind, because that's what you're going to want to do over the next couple of months. Venus just joined Pluto. It's a big theme of empowerment in the beginning of Aquarius right now. For you guys, it's your 10th house. What that means for you guys is going to be this kind of multifaceted realization that the only way for you to empower yourself and achieve the big long-term goals that you have as far as your legacy, your career, any of those like really big things, the only way you're going to be able to achieve those things is if you fill your cup first. And if you're always taking care of other people, that means that personally and professionally, you're going to feel depleted, and you're not going to have an easy time achieving your goals at all. You're going to be too distracted or too tired or too worn out, right? So all across the board, putting yourself first is definitely going to be the winning strategy. And yeah, being less social. For some of you guys, it's going to mean being a little bit more reclusive. But yeah, the more you can recognize when and where you have certain patterns in your life, take a step back, maybe write them out and be like, okay, this thing and this thing and this thing is bothering me. What's the common thread? What's the pattern? And if I notice a common thread and a pattern, can I see how long it's been happening? Because if I can find out how long it's been happening, I can usually figure out what started this. And if I can figure out what started this, I can finish it. Does that make sense? So empowering yourself is going to be learning to pick and choose, be really, really selective about when and where you really just give all of yourself, because that's your thing, that you will give all of yourself and then realize you have nothing left for yourself. So the full moon coming up on December 15th is going to offer you an opportunity. And I created a little mantra for each zodiac sign. My mantra for you guys, Taurus Sun and Taurus Rising, is I am abundant. And I want to add to that, I am enough. And if you struggle with not feeling abundant and not feeling enough, odds are you're going to realize there's some sort of long-standing pattern of making sure that everybody else is okay and then you don't have anything. Something along those lines, right? By changing your relationship with yourself, by changing your relationship with how much you focus on nourishing yourself or meeting your own needs, that's how you're going to align with your values, and that's how you're going to put an end to any unhealthy repeating patterns in your life. And towards the end of this little 2-week period, around December 19th, Venus forms a really supportive angle to Jupiter, opening up a possibility to either make more money, accelerate your career, or do something that is going to be personally rewarding to you. And depending on whether or not you feel comfortable being a healthy level of selfish, this opportunity coming up around December 19th, you may or may not immediately jump on it, right? But this is where I want to encourage you, especially on a professional level, go for it. Go for whatever is going to set you up for the future. Go for whatever aligns with your values, your ultimate goals, the dreams that you're hoping to accomplish. There is going to be an amazing opportunity around December 19th. Go for it. And then when the sun moves into Capricorn, December 21st, it's going to spend a month moving through your 9th house. It's going to be shining a light on possibilities. It's going to be shining a light on potential, whether that be learning, growing, traveling, adventuring. There's some really, really, really cool opportunities opening up. And so the subtext is that you're only going to really, really enjoy this period if you allow yourself the opportunity to put yourself first every now and then. And there's nothing wrong with that. A healthy level of selfish, right? Within reason. I hope that helped. I hope that you guys enjoyed your horoscopes. Please feel free to like, share, comment below if you have any thoughts you want to share. I do have a little tip jar down linked in the comment or description box if you feel inspired and able. And thank you so much for being here. Mwah. Sending you guys all the very best. Have a magical time, and I will see you in 2 weeks. Bye. Gemini Sun and Gemini Rising, welcome to your horoscopes. There's definitely a lot going on, and with 2 major planets in retrograde, it does feel in a lot of ways like life is a total gong show right now. So if that's your experience at all, definitely want to reassure you that you are not alone. What's interesting is that Mars is retrograde in your 3rd house. The 3rd house is kind of your house. Whether you're a Gemini Sun or a Gemini Rising, the 3rd house is associated with Gemini. The 3rd house is associated with our VIP crew, whether it be our siblings, our closest friends, or whoever's kind of in our inner circle. And with Mars retrograde in your 3rd house, your experience for the next few months may feel as though either you don't want to be very social or social opportunities dry up. You may feel as though you don't want to talk to anybody, or it might feel like nobody wants to talk to you. across the board, the energetic experience for you guys is going to feel as though either things have really quieted down, or you might just get a little bit more choosy, a little bit more picky about who you spend time with. You're going to be focusing on quality, not quantity, especially as we are kind of getting into holiday season. You may be shying away from larger events, which usually you love, and feeling a little bit more attracted to small, private, intimate events where you can really just kind of be comfortable and not have to like be on. You know what I mean? Because you guys really do love being social, but often your autopilot is going to be, what mask do I need to wear? Or like, what character do I need to play? Rather than truly being your authentic self. Just because, you know, social skills are kind of your superpower. That sometimes you get caught up in that social interaction, but you're not always truly being yourself. What you're going to find with Mars retrograde until the end of February of next year is that it is far more important for you to feel as though you have the opportunity to be yourself. That social games or blah, 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 it's just whatever to you right now. And supporting that, Mars and Mercury are both retrograde, but they're in a really, really positive planetary relationship with each other. So that means that the other piece of that is that as you kind of withdraw from larger social events and things like that, you're going to have plenty of opportunities to connect deeply with the people that are really, really, really special to you. And by dedicating your time and energy to these closer connections, you're going to find that you're able to relax. You're going to find that you're able to really have some awesome conversations, and you're really, really, really going to enjoy these closer connections for sure. So feel free to cancel plans. Feel free to be like, never mind, I'm not hosting a huge party, or I'm not going to your big party, or whatever it is. It's going to make you feel a lot better to be picky and choosy. Even though those two major planets are retrograde right now, Neptune just went direct. And Neptune is the planet of working towards your ideals or living your best life. So Neptune going direct is actually really, really positive, and it's direct in your 10th house of career. So you might be finding that something is opening up within your career path, and it might not feel easy at first. It might feel like action is being held back. It might feel like plans are not coming together, but the level of clarity that you have around what it is that you want, what it is that you're aiming for, and what it is that you are ultimately striving for, that's going to become super, super clear. And so in times of feeling like you're held back, it's an awesome opportunity to reflect, pause, reassess, and rethink whatever plans that you have so that your plans are aligning you with your ideals. No more settling for less. No more having non-VIP people having access to your heart or your space, you know what I mean? It's all about clarifying your intention, and it's actually going to make it easier for you when you're in the long run. Venus joined Pluto in the beginning of Aquarius. Aquarius is an air sign. You guys are an air sign, so there's definitely a power play happening here. And because that conjunction is happening in your 9th house of possibilities, the more that you reach for new opportunities, the more that you reach for information, whether it be, you might be going into training, you might be going into college, you might be traveling, as much as you can kind of soak up new experiences and new opportunities and new information like a sponge, that is how you're going to prepare yourself for the next leg of your journey. So definitely, as much as you can, stay open, stay curious, keep learning, keep striving, keep looking for that pathway or that exit door, because your persistence will pay off. And then you may feel especially disappointed with people, especially in your career field. With the sun being in your 7th house and Neptune being in your 10th house. The sun is forming a square right now, or will be forming a square to Neptune. So you may be noticing where and when personal or professional connections are either closing doors for you or opening doors for you. So definitely kind of as much as you can, even if you feel like you've known somebody forever, keep your eyes, keep your mind open, because you're going to be, as Mr. Rogers said, noticing the helpers. And you're going to be given an opportunity to notice with more clarity who's on your team and who's not, for lack of better words. And then we have a full moon in your sign. So December 15th, we have a full moon in Gemini. So you guys are going to be supercharged. It's going to be an awesome opportunity for you to make a wish or lock into your dreams or put together some sort of a manifestation spell or anything like that. It's going to be a profoundly, it's going to be an opportunity full of potential. Man, Mercury retrograde is making me trip over my words. I'm a Virgo ruled by Mercury. Any of you Geminis or Gemini risings out there, you're also ruled by Mercury. If you're struggling as hard as I am right now, I'm sending you guys a huge hug. Oh man. Okay. I came up with a little mantra for every zodiac sign, and for you guys, what I came up with is I dream of reciprocity. I dream of reciprocity. Reciprocity, I actually learned that word from Lauryn Hill, from one of that album she put out in the 90s. Reciprocity is the process of giving and receiving, right? We want to have relationships in which there is reciprocity. Not that we're keeping score, not that everything has to be even, but we want to have a general sense that things are active and flowing and healthy and reciprocal, right? So please don't feel bad if you are feeling hyper aware of the lack of reciprocity in your life. It could be personally, it could be professionally, it could be, you know, within the context of your personal relationships, or it could also be within your career, within your job, your work, or whatever, realizing, wow, I put in a ton of energy into this and I don't really get anything back. That is useful information. And if you are able to recognize when and where you are not being appreciated or not being compensated, these can be freeing. Even if it's heartbreaking, it can be a freeing realization, because you can say, actually, I can let go of this now. I can move on to something better. I can move on to a situation or a relationship or a job in which I am properly compensated for my time, my energy, and my expertise. Right? So don't feel bad if you're noticing a lack of reciprocity, because that's definitely your theme right now. But moving into, we're hitting the beginning of winter. We're hitting the end of the calendar year. December 19th, Venus forms a really supportive angle to Jupiter. Jupiter is in your sign. Venus is in another air sign, Aquarius. So it's going to be a huge boost. Around December 19th, there is going to be some sort of awesome opportunity open up for you. It could be an opportunity of awareness, an opportunity to learn, an opportunity to grow or realize something. Or it could be a physical opportunity, like an opportunity to travel, an opportunity to freshen up your life, shake things up a bit in the most positive way possible. But Venus trine Jupiter is actually a really, really, really lucky influence. So December 19th is going to be a very, very lucky day for you. I mean, honestly, anywhere between December 15th and the 19th is going to be packed with blessings and beautiful opportunities for your sign in particular. And then when the sun moves into Capricorn on December 21st, it is going to be starting a 1-month period of activating your 8th house. But the 8th house holds a lot of magic. It is about noticing giving and receiving. It is about noticing repeating patterns, especially karmic ones. And it is about noticing energy. You may find that some of the choices that you're making right now, as far as people you want to spend time with and people you don't want to spend time with, it's not so much about what they say. It's not so much about what they do. It's about their energy. And it's about how their energy makes you feel. And that is just as valid, if not more important, than anything else that they do. Energy is everything. So keep noticing, stay curious, and by empowering yourself to go VIP access only, you're going to help yourself feel more fulfilled, more energized, and more capable moving forwards. So that's what I've got for you. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you enjoyed your horoscopes. Good luck with Mercury retrograde. Please feel free to like, share, subscribe, comment below if there's anything you want to share. I also have a tip jar in the description box if you feel inspired and you're able. Mwah! Thank you so much for being here, and I will see you guys in 2 weeks. Bye. Cancer Sun and Cancer Rising, welcome to your horoscopes. We are coming up on a full moon, and we have a couple of major planets in retrograde. So it feels in a lot of ways like things are kind of crazy right now, just a little, but everybody has an opportunity to find solace, find peace, and find a solid pathway moving forward. So let's jump in. Mars is currently retrograde in your 2nd house. Mercury is retrograde in your 6th house. The common thread between the 2nd and 6th houses is money and whatever it is you do on a daily basis. With Mars retrograde in the 2nd house, you may find that, and it's retrograde until February 23rd of next year, you may find that it's harder than usual to either feel like you're being valued, to feel like you're being compensated for your time and efforts, or you might find that it's harder for you to afford things. Maybe money is tight. Maybe resources are harder to come by. So as much as you can, channel your inner squirrel, pack away some acorns for the winter, you know what I mean? But at the same time though, with every challenge that we're going through, there's also an opportunity. And for example, if you're finding that your day job, that you just don't have enough hours or it's just not paying enough, this is a great opportunity for you to seek employment or better opportunities elsewhere. And that is really, really, really amplified because Neptune just went direct. Neptune is the planet of living your best life and aligning with your ideals. And because it just went direct, it came out of retrograde, so now it's moving forwards, full steam ahead, and it's in your 9th house of newness and possibilities. Okay, so what that means is whatever ways in which you feel squeezed on a daily basis, that either your employment's not enough or whatever it is, this is an opportunity for you to pause, reflect, and reassess. Maybe this is the information that you needed. You know, and I do this all the time. I'll be like, okay, universe, I need you to help me see with absolute clarity what my highest path is in this situation. You know what I mean? So for example, struggling with someone, a really challenging dynamic, and as soon as I ask universe, that person does something that totally crosses a line, and I say, thank you. Thank you for making it really, really clear that I don't want to do this anymore. Right? So even negative experiences provide profoundly useful information. And that's what I'm seeing in this, that whatever it is that is making you feel squeezed is offering you an opportunity to think about what other possibilities are out there. What other opportunities can I embrace so that I can get paid better, so I can feel valued and appreciated, so I can actually enjoy my day job or whatever it is, right? So yeah, and then the other thing that's happening too is that Venus just joined Pluto in the beginning of Aquarius, kind of bringing this very powerful energy to your 8th house. For those of you that like to practice magic, spell work, manifestations, this is the perfect time. Venus joining Pluto in your 8th house is an opportunity to notice whatever it is that's happening in your life and call in help. Whether it be spell work, manifestations, prayer, invoking the guidance of your angels, whatever your jam is, now is the time to call in that energetic support, because it will be profoundly effective. The other thing too is that we can't just pray. We have to actually take concrete steps. So at the same time as you're praying and manifesting, you also want to be looking at the job listings. You also want to be talking to friends, colleagues, coworkers, whatever it is, to really kind of crowdsource what your next best steps are. And then we have a full moon in Gemini on December 15th. So the full moon in Gemini is going to activate your 12th and 6th houses. So there is going to be this experience of feeling a little bit polarized, like, okay, I might not be super excited about what's in front of me. But if I can dream big, if I can have my eyes on the prize, if I can cultivate, you know, this feeling, this image, this understanding of what it is that I really want and really need, that's how I bring it into my reality. So the full moon in Gemini on December 15th is an opportunity to manifest something from a dream into reality. The challenge is big emotions. As a Cancer sun or a Cancer rising, emotions are always going to be your kryptonite. It is both your power and your weakness. It is such a gift to have such a huge heart like you do. It is such a gift to have such a wide range of emotional capabilities as you do. But when you feel like a boat adrift at sea with no oars, that's when it becomes a weakness. That is how we all must develop some sort of life jacket, you know what I mean? Whether it be therapy, calling a friend, exercise, meditation, whatever your jam is, medication, if that's what you need. We got to do what we got to do to be able to stay afloat, right? It's no joke. So I did come up with a little mantra for every zodiac sign for the full moon. And the one that I came up for you guys is, all that I create, all that I offer is appreciated. Therefore, if you don't feel appreciated, you're just around the wrong people. There's nothing wrong with you. That's what I want to make clear. There's nothing wrong with you. If you feel like people are just taking advantage of you, if you feel like people don't appreciate you, you got to leave those people in the dust, because everything that you offer, everything that you create, everything that you are is appreciated. So go where you're appreciated, right? The full moon is going to polarize that, you know, dynamic between what I imagine, what I dream about, and the reality that I have in front of me. But if you can support that evolution, if you can support that growth by either crowdsourcing, learning, exploring opportunities, or simply improving your own vibe, because man, that makes a difference. Improving your own vibe with art, music, dance, therapy, whatever it is, that's going to help you get through this sticky time. But December 19th, Venus and Jupiter form a really beautiful connection. It's going to be a profoundly lucky day for everyone. And for you, it's going to activate your 8th and 12th houses. That is the day where if you do some sort of a spell or prayer or manifestation on the 19th, it should come through, or at least you should get a clue that it's starting to come through. If you do a spell or manifestation and nothing comes through and you don't receive any good news around the 19th, don't panic. Just keep focusing on the prize. Keep focusing on that end goal. Keep focusing on your own inherent worth. Don't ever lose sight of how special your light is. That's the most important thing. And then things will definitely shift. When the sun moves into Capricorn on December 21st, it is going to be spending a month in your 7th house. So there's actually opportunities, a plethora of opportunities over the next month that are going to offer you either new people or new situations in which you can see yourself through new eyes. With the sun being in Capricorn, there is a focus on long-term goals, especially if those goals are career related. And in your 7th house, it becomes an energy of, it's not so much about what you know, it's about who you know. So there's two sides to that, right? If the who you know are people that don't appreciate you, you're going to feel like you don't have anything to offer. But that's not the case. If you're able to change who you're interacting with, if you're able to see yourself through new eyes, for example, and make new personal or professional connections, that's when you're going to go, oh my God, I'm amazing. You know, it's going to boost your morale. It's going to boost your self-esteem. So please don't stay where you're not wanted or not appreciated. It's a waste of the magical sparkle that you have to offer, right? So that's what I've got for you. Good luck out there, you guys. This too shall pass. Feel free to like, share, comment, subscribe if you feel so inspired. I also have a tip jar down in the description box if you feel inspired and you're able. Mwah! Thank you so much for being here. Good luck. This too shall pass, and I'll see you next time. Bye. Leo Sun and Leo Rising, welcome to your horoscopes. There's a lot going on, definitely. We've got 2 planets retrograde, and Mars is retrograde in your sign. So for you guys, because Mars is retrograde in your sign, Mars represents action. And with the planet of action retrograde in your zodiac sign, whether you're Leo Sun or Leo Rising, either way, it's going to feel as though you are held back. Not just one thing or that, like some of the other zodiac signs, but you guys in particular are going to feel like it's like all the things are held back. You might feel like everywhere you look, there's a closed door. Everywhere you look, there's an obstacle. And if that's the case, just sit, right? You don't want to haphazardly throw yourself in a direction if you haven't fully assessed what that would look like, right? Sometimes we panic when we feel like we don't have any good options, but making a decision or taking action out of panic usually doesn't turn out very well, right? So Mars is retrograde in your first house, but here's what's interesting is that it's really cooperating with Mercury retrograde right now. So even though they're both retrograde, there is a sense that there is some sort of purpose. There's some sort of really awesome opportunity. And sometimes when we're forced to sit, when we're forced to, redraw the map or reassess what our options are, it's then that we realize, oh wait, there is an exit door out there, or there is an opportunity right around the corner. Man, if I hadn't sit still, I wouldn't have noticed it, right? So with Mercury retrograde in your 5th house, one of the biggest things you might be thinking right now is, this is not fun, right? And if it feels like you're being held back, and if it feels like you got a bummer vibe happening up here in your head, that's really not a great combination. You might be going through quite the pity party right now. Don't feel bad. Don't ever feel bad for feeling bad, right? And if you feel so overwhelmed that you're like legit crumbling, it is an awesome opportunity to go full stop to the rest of the world. Don't call people back. Don't worry about taking care of anybody else. Focus on taking care of yourself, right? Sometimes we just need to cry it out. Sometimes we need to call a friend and have that friend, puff up our sails a little bit and help us see the best in ourselves, right? So pull out your care kit, pull out your toolbox, you know what I mean? Really pull out all the stops when it comes to helping yourself regain the ability to float instead of sink. Because for you guys in particular, this is going to be a very challenging period. Mars is retrograde until February 23rd of next year. So that's a solid 3 months of feeling like everything's just moving slow as mud. But like I said, there are opportunities in this, and often those opportunities are simply being able to reassess and make a different choice, take advantage of a different opportunity. There are a lot of opportunities out there, and so if a pathway is just not working for you, pause and think, okay, where else could I be doing this? Or what else could I be doing with my energy, right? Because we are all being slightly redirected right now. Now, Neptune just went direct. Neptune has been retrograde for months, and it just started moving direct, which is awesome. It's really good news, because Neptune is the planet of living your best life, being your best self, aligning with your ideals, feeling like everything is right in the world, right? So Neptune just went direct in the 8th house, which is money, finances. It can be debt. It can be shared resources if you have a partner or someone you're taking care of. So out of nowhere, there's something coming through as far as your money situation improving, as far as your ability to tackle debt, and as far as your ability to feel as though you are energetically aligned with your highest path. So if you're able to stay open and curious, and you're able to kind of take a step back and look at your situation, you will be able to see how whatever it is that's happening actually is kind of a good thing rather than a shitty thing. Venus just joined Pluto in Aquarius. For you guys, that's your 7th house. There is a big theme of empowerment with that placement. And in your 7th house, it may feel as though someone you love has the power to help you see the light in whatever dark situation you have. So this is a huge reminder that if you feel like a bag of garbage, please call a friend, right? Call a friend, call a therapist, reach out, because it is going to be someone close to you that's going to offer you either the support that you needed or a solution that you needed, or at least an opportunity to feel better about yourself, right? Yeah, there is going to be empowerment and light coming to you from the closest people in your life. And even though, like I said, even though you might be struggling with some big, heavy emotions right now, this too shall pass. Don't give in to the darkness is really what I want to say. I came up with a little mantra for each zodiac sign. And the one that I came up for you guys is, I am manifesting the life of my dreams. So even if it feels like you don't have what you want right now, even if it feels like things are kind of crappy right now, just say, I am manifesting the life of my dreams. I'm on the way. I am following that path. No matter what happens, I'm going to figure it out. And the more that we can be flexible, you know, Bruce Lee said, move like water. That was his whole thing. He developed a form of Kung Fu. He called it Jeet Kune Do. And it was all about moving like water. You know, raver kids would be like this, right? Anyway, hope I made you laugh. Moving like water is definitely going to be the solution, the winning strategy for sure. If it feels like there's some sort of an obstacle, don't just be like, oh, obstacle. I mean, maybe for a minute, go ahead, right? Sometimes walls exist because we need to rest. Just lean on that and just rest for a minute. And then when you're ready, see if you can walk around the wall, right? The full moon, there's a full moon in Gemini on December 15th, 1 week from today. And sorry, the background music today is just really bothering me. There's a full moon in Gemini on December 15th, 1 week from today. And for you guys, it's going to be activating your 11th house, polarizing the 5th house. So there is a reminder of like, if what you want as far as resources, connection, support, if it isn't right here, it does exist, but you might have to go looking for it, right? So just keep moving, keep thinking of new solutions. If you feel really overwhelmed with emotions, take a break, process those emotions, pick yourself up, and then keep trying, right? But please don't feel bad for feeling bad. Uranus is in the 10th house, and it has been for years. And so for you guys, it is about making some huge changes to your ultimate life path. And sometimes we resist those changes because we don't understand how it's in our best good. We don't understand how it's going to work out. If we are emotionally attached to the path that we thought we were walking, and it becomes clear that it's just not a sustainable path, there's a lot of grief around having to redirect our efforts. But everything in your astrology right now is saying, let yourself be redirected. It is in your highest good, 100%. Yeah, and then Venus joins Jupiter in a beautiful supportive air sign relationship on December 19th. So December 19th is going to be a lucky day for everybody. And for you guys, it's like a fantastically lucky day as far as serendipitous connections with people that are going to help you see the best in yourself, or people that are going to help you achieve your dreams or live your best life. Excuse me. Venus is moving through your 7th house. Jupiter's in your 11th house. The connections that you have are leading to lucky opportunities. So yeah, keep talking to people, keep talking about your dreams, keep asking for help, and don't be afraid to look for new connections, new opportunities, anything like that. Newness is absolutely where it's at. And then when the sun moves into Capricorn, December 21st, it's going to enter your 6th house of money, work, and daily routines. So you are coming up on a 1 month period in which there is a very high potential of either getting a new job or locking into one that you already have with better income. There's really, really high potential around being healthier, being happier, settling into some sort of a new routine that helps you set up the foundation for living your best life. So the opportunities are coming. I can't say it enough. Keep talking, keep asking, keep reaching out. Yeah, and allow yourself to be redirected, because the universe really, really wants to help you out right now. So that's what I've got for you guys. I hope it helped. I hope it resonated. Feel free to like and share or comment below if you have anything you want to share. And I also have a tip jar down in the description box if you feel inspired and you're able. Thank you so much for being here. Mwah. Good luck out there. I hope you have a magical full moon, and I will see you next time. Bye. Virgo Sun and Virgo Rising, welcome to your horoscopes. We are coming up on a full moon in Gemini. We have 2 major planets retrograde. It's a little bit of a gong show out there, but whatever, it's fine. Yeah, so Mars is currently retrograde in your 12th house. It may feel as though your intuition isn't working as well as it used to. It may feel as though your brain isn't working as well as it usually does. It may feel as though your dreams are either really weird or not fun. Mars is going to be retrograde until February 23rd of next year. So it is a multi-month experience, but for the planet of action to be retrograde in your 12th house, the majority of the effect it's going to have on you guys in particular is going to be subconscious, superconscious, just kind of within the awareness, within the confines of your mind. However, when Mars is in the 12th house, it is classically associated with being unconscious of how our actions affect others. And it's because the 12th house is associated with all that is hidden. And with Mars, the planet of action, being in the house of hidden, there's a couple different ways that this can come through. It can feel as though the action that you're taking is hidden. Like you do something and nobody notices. It sucks when you do stuff like that, right? You know, you work really, really hard. You clean the house, for example, and then your partner comes home and doesn't even notice, right? Or whatever it is, right? That's one interpretation of invisible action. The other way that Mars in the 12th house can play out is that the action you take, you are blind to its effects. So you could unconsciously be acting in a way that is rude or disrespectful or something like that. But because Mars is in the house of being hidden, you don't see it. You have no idea that you're doing that. You have no idea the effect that you have on other people. So because there's a couple of ways that Mars retrograde in your 12th house can play out, I just really want to make you aware of what the general theme is. So on that note, if you do something and it's not appreciated and you feel invisible, don't be afraid to be like, hey, did you notice I cleaned the house today? And they'll be like, oh my God, you did, thank you, right? Because if you allow it to stay hidden and you have an emotional reaction about it, because Mars is retrograde in Leo, so we're all taking things really personally right now. If you have that emotional reaction and you just don't say anything, you're like, oh, they didn't notice, they don't care, you're going to end up in the biggest funk and you're going to feel like a bag of garbage. Don't do that to yourself, right? Don't be afraid to be like, hey, this is what I did, because you know, I want to say like 99.9% of the time, it's just that people didn't notice. It's not that they don't care. It's not that they don't appreciate you. It's just that they legit didn't notice, right? So that's one way it could play out. Another way it could play out is if, for example, if one of the things you're experiencing is taking action and not realizing how it's affecting other people. On that note, if you do something and people are like, so bothered, right? Or so offended, instead of being like, what's your problem? Actually approach with curiosity. Be like, that thing that I did, did that bother you? Right? Because if you are unconscious of how your action is affecting other people, ask for clarity, ask for understanding, ask to be told or shown, what did I do? Because I know that you care. You don't want to be rude. You don't want to be disrespectful. That is not your vibe, right? So if people react to you in a funny way, stay curious, ask for an explanation, because it's an opportunity to gain consciousness. It's an opportunity to make repairs if you need to, right? But honestly, like Mars retrograde in your 12th house is nothing compared to what some of the other zodiac signs are dealing with right now. So honestly, all in all, it's going to affect you guys quite minimally compared to a lot of other zodiac signs. Mercury, your planetary ruler, being retrograde, that's what's affecting you. And Mercury is actually cooperating with Mars really, really well right now. So there's kind of a hand-in-hand opportunity for all of us. With Mars retrograding your 12th house, but Mercury is retrograding your 4th house, there is some sort of a common thread around invisibility and emotions. So if you do something, especially if you do something nice or helpful for somebody else and they just don't notice, the immediate reaction is going to be sad emotions, right? And that's where asking for clarity or saying, hey, did you notice this is what I did? That's going to make you feel better. Because with Mars and Mercury in retrograde, it's almost like both of them are hidden. And so if something is hard to see or hard to notice, it makes perfect sense to bring a little bit more light. When we're driving in the dark, we use our headlights, right? I'm not going to get offended somebody didn't see me. I'm going to put on my headlights so there's absolutely no confusion, right? So just think about that, right? Just try and use that metaphor, because there's bound to be a lot of big emotions around this when and where it does happen. But the more that we can reach for clarity, the more that we can work through those emotions or even avoid those emotions altogether. Neptune is direct. So Neptune, the planet of being our best selves and living our best lives, finally is moving forwards. It was retrograde for a few months there. So now that Neptune is moving forwards, it's moving forwards in your 7th house of close connections and partnerships. So the more that you're able to put into practice communication, clarity, understanding, don't make assumptions. Don't just crumble. You know what I mean? Have that conversation, have that connection, work for clarity. Because the more that you put these things into practice, the more that you do these things that you know you should do, the more you're going to align with your ideals. And the reason I say this is because with Neptune in your 7th house, a huge part of this whole dynamic is your interactions with other people. So coming back to that example I used, like let's say you clean the house and your partner doesn't notice. If you reach for clarity, if you say, hey, look what I did, right? You give your partner the opportunity to be seen in a better light. If you don't say anything, if you just take it personally and you just get upset, the subtext of that is that you're going to be mad at your partner. You're going to be seeing your partner and be like, grumble, 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 right? But that's not who your partner is. They just legit didn't notice. Well, for some of you, it is who your partner is, but that's another story. So you know what I mean? What we want to give the people that we love, the people that we care about, we want to give them an opportunity to live their best lives as well and show the best parts of themselves. And we want to cultivate love and peace and connection, right? So if you make an assumption, if you don't talk about it and you crumble underneath your emotions, you're not living your ideals, and your partner is not being able to live their ideals either. So with Neptune moving direct in your 7th house, it is really important to put your ideals into practice. All the advice that you give other people, follow it yourself. And then everything's going to make sense. We also have, like I was saying, we have a full moon in Gemini. So on December 15th, we have a full moon in Gemini, and it is going to be activating your 10th and 4th houses. So one of the biggest things that you're working through, especially with Venus joining Pluto in your 6th house, you are a machine. You are a creature of habit. You are definitely someone who will work and work and work to the point of burnout, right? And you will completely deplete your resources helping other people, because that's who you are, right? But the full moon in Gemini is really going to bring your attention and your awareness to that work-life balance. that need for balance, whether or not you have it. If you are too much of a homebody or too much of a workaholic, whatever the case may be, that is going to become crystal clear on or around the full moon, giving you an opportunity to use that awareness, use that information to create a little bit more of a healthy balance within your life. So that's going to be the full moon theme for you guys. And then December 21st, the sun moves into Capricorn, another earth sign like yourself. That's going to be a really, really, really good month for you guys. You are going to thrive when the sun is in an elementally similar zodiac sign. So there are opportunities for you to really cultivate a higher level of joy and pleasure and appreciation in your life. The ticket is going to be not overworking yourself. Don't be afraid to toot your own horn every now and then, because you're so much like a ninja working in the background that a lot of the time people don't even realize the extent of how much you do for them. So every now and then being like, hey, I did the thing, toot your own little horn, it's going to make you feel better. And it's going to make the people in your life feel better too, because they want to help. They want to show appreciation. They really do love you and appreciate you. You got to give them more opportunities to be able to see it and say it. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay. Well, I hope that helped. That's what I've got for you guys. Please feel free to like, share, subscribe if you enjoyed this video. And I also have a tip jar down in the description box if you feel inspired and you're able. Thank you so much for being here, you guys. Mwah! Good luck out there, and I will see you in 2 weeks. Bye. Libra Sun and Libra Rising, welcome to your horoscopes. We are in the middle of a little bit of retrograde mayhem, and we're leading up to a full moon. Yay! But the full moon in Gemini on December 15th is going to be in an air sign, just like yourself. So it's actually going to be really, really beneficial, as opposed to challenging. Full moons are always a peak of energy, and the big peak of energy that we're leading into here is more along the lines of realizations, especially in the context of realizing possibilities, realizing opportunities. So this is very welcome news for anyone who feels stagnant or stuck. And feeling stagnant or stuck is definitely the theme with Mercury and Mars being retrograde right now. Mars is retrograde. Mars just went retrograde and is going to be retrograde until February 23rd of next year. So a solid 3 months of feeling like action is stalled, stagnated, or completely stopped. And it is in the time of action stalling or stagnating that we often have more opportunities than usual to think. And thinking is all about Mercury, or Mercury is all about thinking. So with Mercury retrograde right now, you have an opportunity to think about third house themes. Mercury is in your third house. So that is thinking about self-employment, thinking about your network, personal and professional. But it's also thinking about kind of who has VIP access into your life. And with Mars retrograde in your 11th house, you may be rethinking the action that you want to take as far as who you spend time with, what sort of activities you get up to in your free time, if you have free time, right? And maybe that's the question. Maybe it's all about, I want to be social, I want to travel, I want to do these things, but I don't have the money, or I don't have the time, or whatever it is. So often our minds circle around that which it is that we don't have, or that what we don't want, right? And so one of the things for all of us to be mindful of during this time is where our brains are going, what it is that you're thinking about, and where that train of thought seems to be headed. If we notice that our train of thought is not headed in a good direction, it's really important to remember that we are behind the driver's wheel and to kind of take over as far as steering. So with Mars retrograde in your 11th house, you may feel far less inclined to be social as far as meaningless connections. one of the biggest things that's coming through for you is not wanting to feel like the connections you have are shallow or insignificant. And this happens to us many, many times throughout our lives, where sometimes it'll be like, man, I just want to blow off some steam. I don't care, you know, and you just have conversations about whatever. And sometimes that's what we need, is to just kind of blow off some steam. But what's coming through for you guys right now is the need to have meaningful connections. So what we're seeing is less of a likelihood that you want to just like go out and be surrounded by people. What's really happening is you're rethinking, okay, who's my VIP people? Who can I spend time with right now where I can actually talk about what I'm going through, that I can maybe process some of the stuff happening in my life, that I can have a private and sacred conversation about topics that are really, really, really important to me. And so on that note, you're going to be seeking out any personal or maybe professional connections in which you feel there is more space to be authentic, that you have no tolerance for being fake right now, and fake people are really going to be driving you crazy right now. For some of you, if you have a business of your own, if you are running a business or you're self-employed in any form, this is going to be a time of rethinking your reach, your audience, whether it be putting some money into advertising or rethinking your online presence, maybe social media or a website or something like that. If you run a business or you're self-employed and it feels like opportunities are drying up, or maybe you're not making as much money as you want to or as much money as you used to, it's almost like you're going to be kind of forced to rethink, who are my connections, which connections are most profitable, and how can I maybe either rebrand or rethink my advertising to be able to reach my ideal audience, right? So that is one potential way that this could come through. If you're not self-employed, if you're not running a business, then it has more to do with your own personal efforts. It could be personal or professional, but it really all is about quality, not quantity, right? Like, I ran an advertising campaign recently. I promoted one of my YouTube videos and it was like 900 people saw it, but one person clicked on the link, right? And so when it comes to advertising, that's what we're looking at, is like, wow, that was a total waste of money, right? And so these are the kind of things, this is all about, you know, personally or professionally, noticing the feedback that we're getting, especially energetically, and then assessing, is that the feedback that I wanted? Is that the feedback that's helping me live my best life or walk my highest path? And if not, let's change the approach, let's change the audience, let's change the strategy or the modality or whatever it is. Because with Mars and Mercury retrograde right now, any ways in which we feel blocked, stagnant, or stuck, the first reaction is going to be emotions. The first reaction, because Mars is in Leo, the first reaction for all of us is going to be pity party. So I like to be able to prepare people. I want you to know that's normal. It's very human. It's very understandable. But we are all being invited to move past that pity party and go, okay, I had a chance to cry. I had a chance to get mad. Now I want to rethink my strategy. Now I want to rethink where and when I am devoting my time, my energy, and my expertise, or whatever it is, so that I really feel valued, so that I really feel like appreciated, right? So yeah, that's kind of like the biggest theme right now. Mars is retrograde for 3 months, but Mercury comes out of retrograde on the full moon. So we have a full moon on December 15th. It is in Gemini, and it's going to be in your 9th house, opening up opportunities and possibilities. So this is where we see 100%. Any door that's closing is an opportunity to look for which door is open, which window is open, right? Because there is a pathway. That's definitely the quality of time right now, is tapping into infinite potential and possibilities. But for a lot of us, it means having to leave behind the old in order to embrace the new. So over the next few days, you're really going to be thinking about your day-to-day life. You're going to be thinking about the quality of your life. You're going to be thinking about the money that you're making, the resources you have access to, and how happy you are with everything as a whole. And then by the time we get to the full moon, for you guys, it's going to be a bit sticky, because even though it is in an air sign and ultimately the full moon is going to empower you, part of the process of empowering is going to be noticing where and when you are disempowered. So it could be friends that just don't treat you very well, a boss that doesn't treat you very well, a business that just isn't succeeding, whatever it is. So we have to get past the part where we notice what isn't working to be able to develop a better plan for making things work or accessing those opportunities and possibilities, right? So I created a little bit of a mantra or a statement of affirmation for each zodiac sign for the full moon. And the one that I came up with for you guys is a reminder that my energy is affected by my thoughts and my beliefs. The reason I put that in is because Uranus is in your 8th house, and it has been for years. It's going to be there for quite some time. Indicating that the highest potential as far as evolution and change for your zodiac sign in particular is going to be about noticing energy. It's all about noticing energy, and then noticing the connection between my thoughts and my beliefs and the energy, right? Because if we have any kind of low opinion of ourselves, then we're going to tolerate crappy friendships. We're going to tolerate a crappy job because we don't believe we deserve any better. But if we can change the thoughts, if we can change the belief systems, we're going to leave that garbage behind, and we're going to move on to better and brighter things. So being able to free yourself, being able to notice how your thoughts and your beliefs affect your energy and in turn affect the possibilities that you have, that's going to be the winning strategy for you guys. And then after we get past that full moon, Venus and Jupiter do a little high five. This is going to be really cool for you guys because Venus is in an air sign, Aquarius, Jupiter is an air sign, Gemini, and you guys are the 3rd air sign, Libra. So on December 19th, it's going to be a really, really, really lucky day, especially when it comes to embracing possibilities of pleasure and play. So either finding new friends or having lots of fun with the friends you already have, or finding a new place of employment, or finding new ways to enjoy the job that you already have. For some of you guys, it's going to be about a possibility of travel as well. So December 19th, very, very lucky, positive day, especially for you guys. And then December 21st, the sun moves into Capricorn. It's going to be spending a month in Capricorn, as the sun always does. But for you guys, that's going to be your 4th house. The 4th house has 2 very distinct associations. It is your literal home, and it's also the home where your heart is. So the 4th house, for the sun to be spending a month in your 4th house, means that for you guys, it's going to be an experience of shining a light on your emotional health, how happy you are within your actual home, and shining a light on the most important ingredients for you to have a successful and prosperous life. And one of the biggest things you might be circling around is that, life, yeah, whatever. The thing that makes life the most enjoyable for you, especially because you're Libra, so it's all about one-on-one relationships for you guys. The thing that is one of the highest priorities for your zodiac sign is having someone to enjoy life with. And so if you don't have significant people in your life, you don't have to have a romantic partner. That is not required, but having anyone in your life that you feel deeply connected to is one of your core needs, whether it be a bestie, a roommate, a partner, whatever it is. That is a core need for you. It is not negotiable. So recognizing the non-negotiable aspects of not only having people in your life, but having nourishing connections in your life. That is going to be the biggest realization over the next month. And so, yeah, picking and choosing where and when you expend energy into those relationships is going to be a shift that you make based on your realization of truths, possibilities, and opportunities. So that's what I've got for you guys. I really, really hope that it helped and it resonated. Feel free to like, share, comment below if you have anything that you want to share. Subscribe, that would be amazing. And I also have a little tip jar down in the description box if you feel inspired and you're able to share. So thank you so much for your support. Thank you for being here. Mwah! I hope you guys have a magical full moon, and I will see you in 2 weeks. Bye. Scorpio sun and Scorpio rising, welcome to your horoscopes. We're in the middle of a little bit of retrograde mayhem, and we're leading up to a full moon. I'm excited to tell you guys all about it. Mars is retrograde. It literally just went retrograde a couple of days ago, and it is going to be retrograde for pretty much a solid 3 months. So with Mars retrograde in Leo, it's going to start in Leo, then it goes into Cancer. That's a story for another day. Mars is retrograde in your 10th house. The 10th house is associated with the biggest goals, the biggest dreams that we have in our lives. It's like having a really rewarding career. It's wanting to buy a house. It's wanting to settle down. It's wanting to leave behind a legacy, right? I mean, the biggest goals, right? So Mars, the planet of action, moving backwards in the part of your chart that's associated with long-term goals, is going to feel profoundly frustrating. And I just want to give you a heads up. So whether you're a Scorpio sun or a Scorpio rising, it is going to feel as though your career has stagnated, or plans to buy a house have somehow fallen through, or, you know what I mean? It's going to feel like some big stuff is either stagnating, hitting some sort of an obstacle, or moving slow as mud, if it's moving at all. I want to be able to reassure you, don't give up hope. Definitely don't give up hope. Mercury is retrograde in your 2nd house. So for a lot of you, it is going to come down to money. So one of the ways that it could play out is feeling as though your career is stagnating because it is not paying as much money as you need to be able to survive or thrive. Another way that it could be playing out is you want to buy a house, for example, or some sort of big purchase. But Mercury retrograde in your 2nd house means that you're rethinking your mortgage, or you're rethinking what's in your bank account and realizing you definitely don't have enough money. So these experiences can be really, really discouraging. Because Mars is retrograde in Leo, all of us are going to be having an emotional reaction to whatever happens first. An emotional reaction along the lines of either I suck, life sucks, everything sucks, you know what I mean? Pity party. So just prepare yourself for that. There's nothing wrong with it. Please don't ever feel bad for feeling bad. We cannot make ourselves not experience emotions. It is part of being a human, no matter how deeply uncomfortable it can be. So let those emotions come out, validate them, listen to them, learn from them, right? And then you'll be able to move on. If we stuff those emotions, they just keep knocking and knocking and knocking until we listen. So you might as well listen first and get that out of the way, right? But I do want to caution you around feeling profoundly discouraged to the point that you give up. The worst thing we can possibly do is drown in those emotions and decide that the plans are just not worth it. F it, I give up. That's not the goal. The goal is to reassess, recalibrate, and maybe rethink our plans, our strategies moving forwards. So for some of us, what that will mean is, okay, maybe I don't have the money to do the big thing right now. That's okay. I'm going to keep planning. I'm going to keep saving. I'll wait for a better interest rate. In the end, it will work out for you. In the end, it is going to be in your highest good, even if it doesn't feel like it right now. If it's your career, if it's your job, if it's something along the lines where you thought this was the job or the career of your dreams, but Mercury retrograde in the 2nd house is saying that, oh, it's not paying enough, it's not lucrative enough, and so you're rethinking the whole thing. That's valid. And that's actually what we're all encouraged to do right now, is rethink. Don't give up, but rethink. Because in the process of rethinking, you might find out that Even if your boss can't give you a raise now, they're definitely going to give you a raise, and they put it in writing, and they set a day and a time that it is going to come through. This is an energy of deferred results. Whatever it is we thought was going to come through like right freaking now has been postponed or put off to a later date. So like I said, it's not a stop sign. It's like a yield. You know what I mean? It's a speed hump, whatever it is. So yeah, rethinking your financial abilities based on whatever stability you have or the stability that you're trying to create. The other thing too is that Neptune just went direct. So, you know, there's balance to everything. Even though Mercury and Mars are retrograde, Neptune went direct. Neptune is the planet associated with living our best lives, making those dreams come true, wishing on a star, you know what I mean? And with Neptune moving direct in your 5th house, even if the money isn't coming through right now, there's a lot of fun, there's a lot of joy, there's a lot of pleasure. For some of you, there might be new romance too. So please practice looking on the bright side. Please practice an attitude of gratitude, even if it feels icky, even if it feels like a stretch, because we have to work really hard to keep that balance in our minds. When it feels like life just overwhelmingly sucks, we have to work really hard to keep the morale up, right? But that effort is worth it. It's worth it 1,000%. So that's definitely what's happening for your sign over the next couple weeks, couple months. Here's the thing though, Venus just joined Pluto. So there's a new feeling of empowerment, either in your heart space, your emotional health, or in your literal home. So whatever it is that's happening, it really does feel serendipitous. You know what I mean? Maybe you're planning on buying a house, maybe you can't quite afford it now, but you found a way to renovate or redecorate. So you're actually way happier with what you have now, and you're okay to wait. You know what I mean? There's always a way to make the current situations work for you, even if it feels like things are kind of moving sideways. So I did come up with a little bit of a mantra, a little statement of affirmation for each zodiac sign. And the one that I created for you guys, Scorpio Sun and Scorpio Rising, is I give and receive freely. So just notice how that kind of sits inside of yourself. The reason I put that there is because we have a full moon in Gemini on December 15th. It is going to be in your 8th house. The sun is in your 2nd house. 8th and 2nd house is about money, resources, time, and energy. And giving and receiving freely, if that makes you feel icky, follow the thread back. If I'm working, I'm not giving and receiving freely. I'm doing it for a paycheck, right? When I go to work, when I spend time doing whatever it is that my boss says, I'm not there to have fun. I'm there to make money, right? You know, but in my personal relationships, I give and receive freely. And so definitely noticing how that statement affects you, and where and when it feels true and where and when it feels inappropriate. And the reason I'm inviting you to do that is because sometimes those lines get blurred. If we are in some sort of a job or a workplace where we're friends with our boss, and even though our boss promised us a raise, if the boss is like, man, I really can't afford to give you a raise right now because we're friends, you'd be like, okay. If you weren't friends, you'd be like, dude, you promised me. You know what I mean? So we're going to have different reactions depending on whatever boundaries, depending on whatever social constructs have been established in the context of that situation. So giving and receiving freely is only going to be true part of the time. And why I invited you to think about that is because you're being invited to think on a healthy level of selfish, but nothing is ever going to be black and white, right? There's always going to be a gray area. There's always going to be exceptions to the rules. And you are in a unique situation in which you are trying to find lines. You're trying to find solid boundaries, and you might be struggling to see them. So in that case, we want to reflect, we want to reassess instead of panicking. But there's going to be a lot coming through your awareness and your consciousness as far as patterns patterns of giving and receiving, patterns of equality, patterns of reciprocity, right? And especially patterns around money and feeling valued and appreciated. So whatever realizations you have, even if they feel challenging or sticky at first, they are leading you to freedom. They are leading you to better options, better possibilities, higher potential. But we are all collectively going through this right now, in which we're having to deal with some pretty challenging stuff. And each of us has to make our own unique personal decision about whether or not we want to continue in the direction that we're going, or potentially take a different route, right? So the full moon is going to be really interesting. It's going to be really clarifying as far as noticing who is helping you live your best life and who is making it really, really, really hard to live your best life. And then December 21st, the sun moves into Capricorn. For you guys, that's your third house. For some of you guys out there, you might be like, that's it. I'm done working for other people. I'm going to start my own business. I'm going to be my own boss. For some of you guys, you're going to realize that your personal connections are just not doing it for you. And you might, during Capricorn season, you might seek out new friends and new company, new people to connect with. But definitely, I just really want to encourage you guys to give yourselves permission to notice and validate your feelings and act accordingly, but do so slowly and carefully and with great love. So that's what I've got for you guys. Good luck during this full moon. I wish you guys all the best. Feel free to like and share and subscribe if you enjoyed this, or comment below if there's anything you want to share. And in the description box below, I also have a little bit of a tip jar if you feel inspired and you're able to contribute. Thank you so much for being here. Mwah! I hope you guys have a magical full moon, and I will see you in 2 weeks. Bye. Sagittarius sun and Sagittarius rising. Welcome to your horoscopes, and happy birthday to any Sagittarius people out there that are celebrating a return around the sun. We have some pretty interesting stuff going on right now. Mercury is retrograde in your sign. You may find that this particular Mercury retrograde is affecting you like crazy when usually it doesn't. And it may be causing you to rethink yourself in general. So you might be finding that people are misunderstanding you. And so you might be rethinking, maybe I should be using different words, or maybe I should be more clear, or maybe I should use less words. So you might be rethinking how people are perceiving you. And with Mars retrograde right now in your 9th house, you may be rethinking possibilities, potential. Some of you might be rethinking your education and training. You might be thinking, okay, I am not able to advance to the level of success and prosperity in my life that I really want to. And it's becoming really, really obvious that I'm going to need a new degree or some sort of certification or some sort of ticket under my belt in order to increase my income potential, right? So everybody is dealing with a lot of challenges and shakeups. One of the biggest things happening right now with Mars and Mercury retrograde is that it feels as though things are just freaking stagnant, not moving, not accelerating, not progressing, or maybe it feels like all the wrong stuff is, and everything that you want is just kind of on hold. It's a really challenging, really sticky collective energy right now. And the way that it's affecting your sign in particular, whether you're Sagittarius sun or Sagittarius rising, is it's actually causing a great deal of self-doubt. And this is where things get really tricky, right? It all comes down to our belief systems. You know, for example, I was the oldest child. And so anytime something went sideways, I was often the one of to receive the blame. Even if it was a younger person that did a thing, I would get the whole, well, why didn't you look out for them? And why, you know what I mean? Like, you should have known better. You're the oldest, right? So the reason I bring that up is because sometimes, depending on how we were raised, depending on whatever life circumstances we've had, sometimes we have a habit of feeling responsible for things that are genuinely not our responsibility. And when Mercury is retrograde in your first house, as it is right now, you may be looking at situations in life. You might be looking at other people's behavior. You might be looking at whether or not your career is successful or something like that. And you might be taking responsibility for things that are genuinely outside of your control, right? Things that are outside of your control is that the economy is garbage right now. We're in the middle of World War III. Right? I mean, there's so much going on. So if you are finding that it's very hard to be successful professionally, before you consider yourself a failure, please, please, please keep in mind that the world is nutty right now. And on a personal level, I love this quote, before you diagnose yourself with depression, make sure you are not, in fact, just surrounded by assholes, right? If you're taking on stuff that is genuinely not yours to take on, you're going to feel overwhelmed, and you're going to feel as though the solution is impossible or out of reach, that you don't even know what the solution is. So if you feel completely powerless, if you have absolutely no idea what the solution is, that is a little bit of a hint, a little bit of a red flag that you're taking on way too much of the world on your shoulders. And if you're able to simplify, okay, what's genuinely within my control? What is genuinely affected by my energy, my choices, my efforts, right? And just really, really, really stick to that. Don't take responsibility for other people's emotions unless you genuinely hurt them. But don't take responsibility for anything that is genuinely not your responsibility. I hope that makes sense. This retrograde period is going to be most challenging for a week. And the reason is that Mercury comes out of retrograde on the full moon on the 15th. So that's brilliant. Mars is going to be retrograde until February 23rd of next year. That's a solid 3 months. But because Mars is in a fire sign and you guys are a fire sign, in general, Mars retrograde is going to help you rediscover your spark. Even if it feels like you're moving backwards, even if it feels like the initial part of Mars retrograde is garbage, trust that it is peeling back the layers of confusion and helping you achieve a certain level of clarity when it comes to what you are genuinely capable of. And not only that, but like seeing the best in yourself. Learning to recognize possibilities and potential that will genuinely help you thrive, as opposed to tolerating a high level of discomfort in which you're not thriving at all, you're only surviving. So lots of deep thoughts for you guys, lots of really deep thoughts. But to help you, Neptune just went direct. Neptune is the planet of living your best life. It's been retrograde for a few months, and now that it's finally moving forwards, it is lighting up your fourth house of emotional health and safety. So there, like I said, even if it feels like some of the things that you're noticing or feeling or realizing, even if it feels pretty yucky at first, it is an opportunity to question everything, including that which you take responsibility for. And by peeling back the layers of what's happening for you, Neptune in your fourth house is going to help you feel more emotionally healthy, more emotionally secure, and it's going to help you set up a solid foundation from which you can genuinely thrive in your life, not just survive. So roll with it. Please work hard to see the best in yourself. Take everything with a grain of salt, and like I said, question everything. And then on December 15th, we have a full moon in Gemini. The sun is in your sign. Gemini is opposite your sign. It's going to be a really powerful full moon for you guys. You are probably going to feel very emotional. You're probably going to not necessarily want to hang out with other people. There will be some of you that feel so supercharged. You like really want to be social. But for the majority of you guys, it's going to be an overwhelming energy in which you're like, maybe I just want to stay home. Maybe I just want to spend time with my favorite people. I don't want to talk to strangers right now. It's way too people-y out there. Even though you guys are usually into that kind of thing, you're going to feel more of a homebody over the next little bit than usual. But that's what you need. That's you know, if you feel that way, it's because you need it. You need to recharge. You need to be in safe company where you can really let your guard down and not feel like you have to be like on, you know what I mean? Yeah, and then we're moving into the end of the year, you guys. This is wild. Yeah, the sun moves into Capricorn December 21st, and when it does, it's going to be activating your second house. Now, just before it moves into your second house, Jupiter and Venus do this little dance together. Very, very cooperative planetary relationship. Around December 19th, a really, really high likelihood of you meeting new friends or bringing new life into the relationships that you already have. And then when the sun moves into Capricorn for the next month, starting December 21st, you're going to feel far more motivated to, what's the word I'm looking for? I wanted to say trim the fat. I don't know. That's just what popped into my head. You're going to be far more motivated to be more selective about who you share your energy and your time with, personally and professionally. Because when the sun moves through your second house for a month, you're going to be focused on, you're going to be focused on your values. You're going to be focused on sharing time with people who share those values. And you're going to want to feel like the people in your life value your time, your energy, and your expertise. So yeah, starting Capricorn season, you might be less social, you might be more reclusive, but the people that you do spend time with are definitely going to be your favorite people. And those are going to be really, really nourishing connections for you. So that's what I've got for you guys. I hope that resonated. I hope that it helped. Feel free to like, share, comment, subscribe if you feel inspired. And I also have a little tip jar down below in the description box if you feel able and inspired to contribute. So thank you so much for being here. Mwah! I hope you have a magical full moon, and I will see you guys in 2 weeks. Bye. Capricorn Sun and Capricorn Rising, welcome to your horoscopes. We're in the middle of retrograde mayhem. We have a full moon coming up. No big whoop, whatever, right? Mars is retrograde in your 8th house. Mercury is retrograde in your 12th house. And between the two, you are definitely going to be deep in thought these days. With Mars retrograde in your 8th house, it may feel as though the energy that you are expending is not coming back to you in the way that you had hoped or in the way that you deserve. You may feel as though you are having to put out a lot of energy and effort and not really getting much in return. So one of the biggest things happening for you, you know, especially if you start to get resentful, is just pull back your efforts, right? You know, don't keep giving and giving and giving if you're just giving to a black hole where there is literally no return. And I know that we don't really want to think in terms of, you know, like there's no checklist, there's no freaking balance book when it comes to our personal relationships, but you will have a general sense of whether or not you feel appreciated and whether or not there's any reciprocity. And the other thing happening with Mercury in your 12th house, you may be struggling with feeling invisible. You may be struggling with feeling like either people don't notice or don't care, or if you didn't call, that nobody would call you. There's some pretty deep, probably pretty heavy, pretty emotional things happening within your consciousness right now. But of course, as a Capricorn Sun or a Capricorn Rising, you're like, poker face, it's fine. I'm great. How are you? Right? So one of the things that you might be struggling with there is either feeling invisible or feeling like there's not much energetic return. And sometimes, you know, sometimes we get these feelings in a flash based on one quick exchange. And it's really important to kind of take a step back and look at the bigger picture and be like, am I picking up on something real here? Or is this just an isolated incident, right? Only you will know. But making those kinds of decisions and making those kinds of assessments, really, it's not coming down to, like I said, you don't have a scorecard. It really is coming down to feeling valued. Either you feel valued or you don't, right? Either you feel like the people in your life share your values or you don't. It's going to be yes or no, you know what I mean? And the more that you can give yourself permission to, you know, if you have to go VIP access only, if you have to cut some people out of your life or simply just spend less time with certain people, the more that you can give yourself permission based on whether or not you feel like you're on the same page as people, that's a great way to simplify things, you know, because we can complicate things, especially if we've known somebody for like a really long time. It's not easy to make an assessment about that relationship necessarily. I mean, sometimes it is. Sometimes it's like crystal clear. But that's the thing, you know, for some of you, there might be a lot of gray area. For some of you, it might be a question of like, how have I put up with this for so long, right? Or it could be the kind of thing where you're like, we used to be good. What happened? I don't know how things change. So in the lines of kind of reassessing your energy, reassessing whether or not you feel invisible, reassessing whether or not you feel valued or appreciated, these are the core themes happening for you. Now, Mercury is only retrograde for one more week. It comes out of retrograde on the full moon. We have a full moon in Gemini on December 15th. So as far as the deeply introspective, like deep in thought, maybe not talking to people, maybe feeling some heavy feelings, that's going to be over in a week. But what happens is it's going to leave a mark. It is going to leave a mark as far as your awareness. Once you see something, you can't unsee it. Once you have realized something, you can't stop thinking about it. So whatever it is that you realize over the next week is going to affect the action that you take over the next 3 months, because Mars is retrograde until February 23rd. So that's just about a solid 3 months of feeling as though the action that we're taking or the action that we want to take, maybe it needs to be redirected. Right? If you have just been giving and giving and giving and not getting anything in return, Mars retrograde is going to be you going, F that, I'm not giving anymore, whatever, right? Or if you've been the one to always make that phone call, you're going to be like, I'm not picking up my phone. Nope, I'm going to wait until they call me, and if they never call me again, well, that's all I need to know, right? Sometimes we have to make those hard choices. But the full moon in Gemini happening on the 15th, I did create a little bit of a mantra, a little bit of statement of affirmation for each zodiac sign. And the one that I created for you guys is that there's always something to be grateful for. And the reason I chose that is because there is a very high likelihood of your sign being either dark or discouraged or kind of down in the dumps over the next little bit. And it's 99% as a result of other people's behavior, right? And how you perceive your own worth in the context of how other people behave. And so if you end up feeling kind of grumpy or down in the dumps or depressed or whatever it is, I said this for, I think it was the Sagittarius crew. Before you diagnose yourself with depression, make sure you're not in fact surrounded by assholes. It's really important to remember, right? It's not so much that there's anything wrong with you, but if you feel unappreciated, maybe you need to hang out with other people, right? Instead of wasting your energy and your time. We don't want to feel resentful. There is always something to feel grateful for. And if we have finally realized the truth of a situation or a relationship, that truth is something to be grateful for, because even if it pisses us off, the truth will always set us free. And so the more that you can focus on gratitude, the more that you can go where you're wanted, that's going to be your winning strategy over the next couple weeks, couple months. But that peak of realization, as far as, you know, how you feel about other people, how you feel about your job, how you feel about your friends and things like that, there's definitely going to be a peak of realization around the 15th at the full moon. And then after the full moon, Jupiter and Venus end up being in a really harmonious relationship on December 19th. And it's activating your 2nd and 6th houses. So there's a huge money-making opportunity for you on December 19th. It could be a wish granted. It could be a raise at work. It could be a new job. But yeah, there's a really, really, really good money-making opportunity on or around December 19th. And then when the sun moves into Capricorn, moves home to your sign on December 21st, it is going to be kind of See, anytime we reach our birthday month, or if you're a Capricorn rising, either way, it doesn't matter. Capricorn season, as a Capricorn sun or rising, is going to be especially significant to you. And it's going to be a time of, even if it's not your literal birthday, feeling like there is some sort of special new beginning in your life. So as we close out Sagittarius season over the next 2 weeks, you may feel as though you're kind of doing like a year in review, either thinking about how much you've grown, whether or not you accomplished your goals, how you feel, right? And it is often very deeply introspective. It is kind of something where you just want space. You want to be able to think your own thoughts and kind of reflect for a bit, right? But what it's leading to is Capricorn season starting. And when the sun moves into Capricorn, you're going to feel as though you have new life. So anything that has to be cleared out over the next couple of weeks, any hard choices, any decisions, any big feelings, now is the time, because what you are doing is you are giving yourself new life. So do whatever you got to do, right? So that's what I've got for you guys. Thank you so much for being here. I hope it resonated. I hope the horoscopes were helpful. I do have a little bit of a tip jar down below in the description box if you are inspired and able to contribute. You can also like, share, subscribe so that my videos reach more people. That would be amazing. Thank you for being here. I hope you have a magical full moon, and I will see you guys in 2 weeks. Mwah. Bye. Aquarius sun and Aquarius rising, welcome to your horoscopes. We are leading up to a full moon in Gemini in just a week's time, and the full moon in Gemini is going to be in an air sign just like yourself, so it is going to be a very beneficial full moon, but it's also a full moon that is bringing with it a lot of awakenings, a lot of realizations, a lot of clarity, and one thing I've said many times is the truth will set you free, but first it might piss you off. So as we are freshly into Mars retrograde, Mars like literally just went retrograde a couple days ago, one of the biggest effects that it has is a combo of feeling like either something isn't working or something isn't turning out the way we wanted, and experiencing a bit of a pity party as a result. And it's just because Mars, the planet of action, is in the sign of Leo, which is the ego, it's the identity, it is the self as a whole. And so anytime over the next couple of months that we feel as though our efforts are being blocked or something's just not turning out well, collectively, everybody is going to have some sort of emotional reaction of either I suck, life sucks, this sucks, you suck, whatever it is, right? So I just want to give you a heads up so that you're prepared. You guys are typically more able to move through big emotions than other zodiac signs, just by virtue of the energy that you have. This might be different. So yeah, Mars, like I said, just went retrograde, and it's going to be retrograde until February 23rd of next year. So a little bit rough, but that's okay. We'll get through it. It is retrograde in your 7th house. And so Mars representing action happening in your part of your chart that's about relationships. The biggest effect that it's going to have for you guys is feeling as though either you don't want to be putting your energy into relationships or certain relationships anymore, or you're going to be noticing the energy that I put in is not reciprocated. And this is where it's important to hold space for your emotions. Don't ignore your emotions. If you feel resentful, that's useful information, and you shouldn't talk yourself out of it. If you're noticing a pattern where there is no reciprocity, or maybe there's no honor, no respect, whatever it is, if you do not feel nourished in a relationship, that is valid information. And so it's going to be really important for you to pay close attention to how you feel instead of talking yourself out of it. Don't ignore that useful information. It's an opportunity to take that information and use it to change your life for the better. Now, Neptune just went direct. Even though Mars and Mercury are retrograde, Neptune just started moving forward. So we do have good news. And especially because Neptune is the planet associated with manifesting our dreams or living our best lives. It's like the best possible outcome. And so any ways in which we're being held back or blocked or stagnated right now, the side effect is that we are being given an opportunity to rethink, what is my highest goal? What would my best life look like? What would my ideal relationships look like? You know, it doesn't just have to be a partner or a lover. I mean, we're talking besties, coworker, a boss, a neighbor, whatever it is. Mars retrograde in your 7th house is going to cause you to reflect on the energy put in by both parties in all professional and personal connections. You're going to be thinking about all of them. And with Mercury retrograde in your 11th house, one of the things you might be thinking about is, do I feel accepted? Do I feel appreciated? Do I feel like I belong? Because if the answer is no to any of those, you're going to walk away. You cannot tolerate situations in which you do not feel like there is space to be your authentic self. You do thrive when in service to others, but only to an extent. You're human and you need your needs met too. And so if there is a profound level of imbalance, those are going to be the most obvious first. And then if there's a bit more of a gray area, you'll circle around to those relationships a little bit after. But basically the biggest thing is just thinking about where and when your energy is appreciated. That's it, right? And it's not that you're keeping a scorecard, but it is about feeling valued. And it's also about wanting to feel as though you share the same values with the people in your life. You know, like everybody speaks a different love language, right? But even if you speak a different love language than the people in your life, you want to know that everybody's making an effort to learn each other's language and to respond accordingly, right? You want to just feel as though people are at least putting in some effort. You know what I mean? So that's the biggest thing. Don't be afraid to be thinking these things. Don't be afraid to be hitting your limit if that's where you're at, right? Because any emotions coming up for you right now are giving you useful information. And that useful information is going to help you live your best life. So yeah, Venus just joined Pluto in your sign. You are feeling empowered. You are feeling done with the BS. You know what I mean? And this is definitely this kind of time in your life where you're like, I'm getting too old for this shit, you know, and that's fine. You do you. You want to live your best life. And sometimes that involves making some hard choices to be able to align with your highest path. So I did create a little bit of a mantra, a little bit of a statement of affirmation for each zodiac sign. And for you guys, what I wrote down is, my peace is important and my peace is possible. Sometimes when we're in really, really tricky situations or challenging relationships, we may become convinced that peace is impossible. And it is. Peace is possible. And for you to feel peaceful is so important. Like I said, you guys have this energy right now of being like, I'm too old for this shit. You know what I mean? Anything that you might have put up with in the past, you hit your limit. Any kind of BS, any kind of stagnant, unhealthy relationships that are not full of reciprocity, you're over it. You hit your limit. And it's funny to realize, funny, not funny, to realize that you just kind of hit that line, right? Didn't see the line coming, but oop, there it is. Here we are now. Yeah. And so the full moon in Gemini on December 15th is going to light a bit of a spark in you. It is a full moon bringing awareness, clarity, especially when it comes to opportunities and possibilities. That's the energy it's bringing to everybody. But the way that it's affecting your sign in particular is helping you highlight the importance of your own peace, your own joy, your own happiness. Any ways in which you've been sacrificing your peace or sacrificing your happiness for other people's benefit, you hit your limit. It's over. If you haven't hit your limit now, you're gonna hit it on or around the full moon. So just be prepared, right? And really it all comes down to, like, Uranus is in your 4th house. Uranus is the planet of change and evolution. You are evolving to be a more healthy individual, especially in the context of healthy emotions, especially in the context of your family, home, who you spend the most time with, right? So anything that's happening for you now, I dare say it's been a long time coming. I would simply encourage you to prepare ahead of time. If you have any sense that you're hitting your limit with any particular people or situations, prepare ahead of time, because there is a possibility of being fine until you're like not fine. And we want to be really careful, even if we have to close a door, even if we have to cut somebody off or make an exit. It is typically advisable to do so in a way that we're not blowing everything up, right? So just kind of keep that in mind. You might want to have a contingency plan. And December 19th, Venus does a little high five with Jupiter. Venus is in your sign. Jupiter is in the other air sign, Gemini. And together they bring profound luck. It's such a lucky influence. December 19th, on or around December 19th, is going to be such a lucky day. Good fortune, good friends, good connections, good possibilities. And for you guys, it's going to take the luck of personal pleasure. Maybe taking a day off to go do something really, really fun for yourself, or having an opportunity to experience joy and pleasure. Really, really, really happy day for you guys on or around December 19th. And then the sun moves into Capricorn December 21st. So winter solstice, seasons are changing. We've hit that turning point as far as the darkest day of the year, and the light returning. And so when the sun moves into Capricorn on December 21st, it's entering your 12th house. It is the final phase of moving through the zodiac before your birthday. So, and even if you're an Aquarius rising, it's still going to have that almost birthday feeling. So be prepared for the next month when the sun moves through Capricorn. There's going to feel like a kind of like year in review. It's going to feel like you're going to have a desire to tie up loose ends, reach some sort of conclusion or completion with certain things in your life. And you're going to be feeling this like approaching freshness, approaching excitement, because anytime the sun moves back to your sign, and again, if you're Aquarius sun or Aquarius rising, either way, when the sun comes back to Aquarius in a month's time, you're gonna feel a personal boost. But before the boost, it's like clearing out the yuck and the old in order to welcome in the new. So lots of completion, lots of closure, lots of hitting your limit, I want to say. And it doesn't have to be in a huge and extreme way, but something's coming to a peak, right? And I see you just being like, peace out, mic drop, right? In whatever way works best for you. So I hope that helped. I hope that resonated. Thank you so much for being here. If you enjoyed your horoscopes, I do have a little bit of a tip jar down below in the description box. Otherwise, if you're able to like, share, subscribe, anything like that, it does help me improve my reach. Thank you. I hope you have a magical full moon, and I will see you guys in 2 weeks. Mwah. Bye. Pisces sun and Pisces rising. Welcome to your horoscopes. Mercury has been retrograde for a little bit. It's only got a week left, but Mars just went retrograde. And so I'm going to tell you all about it. It really does kind of feel like it's like having to pull over. Let's say you're driving down the road and let's say there ends up being a storm and it just gets too rough to see. The best possible thing is pull over. Just pull over and take a break. Don't push through if there's limited visibility, right? Don't push through if the path isn't clear and things become dangerous, literally or metaphorically. That's what's coming through right now. Mercury has been retrograde in your 10th house. And so one of the things you've been thinking a lot about is your ultimate goals, whether it be family or a home or your legacy or career or whatever it is. You've been rethinking big themes like that, what your ultimate goals are, and whether or not you feel like you're on the path to achieving them. And if you don't feel like you're on the path to achieving them, what sort of adjustments can you make at this point to be able to really line up with those ultimate goals, right? So you've already been on that train for a little bit. And then Mars goes retrograde just a couple of days ago. Mars, the planet of action and momentum, has ground to a halt, and now that sucker's moving backwards. So for collectively, everybody is about to experience 2.5, 3 months of feeling like things are just not happening. And for you guys, Mars is in your 6th house, which is day-to-day activities. It could be your day job, it could be your health, it could be your body, anything like that. So specifically for you guys in particular, Mercury and Mars being retrograde, affecting 2 important areas of your astrological chart that are very directly linked to the money that you make, the job that you have, the day-to-day job, your ultimate career goals. Something is causing you to be squeezed. It could be realizing that you have been throwing your energy in too many different directions. Maybe you're getting burnt out. Maybe you're tired. Maybe you're just not seeing a lot of results. And so the natural conclusion for you is going to be pull back your efforts and redirect in a little bit more of a focus and deliberate, specific kind of way, rather than just casting a wide net. You know what I mean? The other thing you might be thinking about is if you have any long-term goals, such as purchasing something big, you might be realizing that right here, right now, you got to do a hell of a lot of budgeting. You got to rethink how you spend your money. You got to rethink how you make your money. You got to rethink how you allocate the money that you have. So there is a huge, huge, huge focus on not only the money that you're making here and now, but what you'd like to do with that money in the future, and that kind of relationship you have between now and the future. You guys have a really, really interesting energy, being the last sign of the zodiac. Whether you're a Pisces sun or a Pisces rising, you have a much more ethereal, like, there's no such thing as time kind of awareness, right? And that can either work for you or against you. You can be profoundly wise, or you can also be, you're represented by the fish. You can also sometimes be like Dory from Finding Nemo, the fish that has like no short-term memory. Sometimes situations like this can cause you to forget the success you've had in the past, because maybe right here, right now, you don't feel successful. And it's like nothing you ever did ever existed, right? So be careful how you might have either a lack of short-term memory or a selective memory in times of big emotions. The reason I say that is because, like I said, Mars just went retrograde just a couple days ago, and it's retrograde in Leo. And with Mars retrograde in Leo, that means any ways in which we feel as though things aren't panning out the way we wanted to, maybe our efforts aren't, working out, or things aren't happening, or plans have been canceled, whatever it is. Mars retrograde in Leo is going to have the effect of us taking whatever it is happens personally. And sometimes for some of us, it's going to be a reaction of, I suck, life sucks, my job sucks, people suck, everything sucks. It does have a bit of a childish, like, F this kind of energy to it. And it's going to be really important for us to allow those emotions to come through. Don't do anything with those big emotions, right? There's nothing wrong with emotions, but we have to be careful what we do with them, right? So if we allow the emotions to come through and be like, yeah, I feel like a bag of garbage right now. How much of this is just me being like, and how much of this is real, right? Because 50-50 at least. There's going to be reality there. There's going to be legitimate, real information and feedback that you are receiving from your life. The problem is taking that the wrong way. You don't suck. You're amazing. And life doesn't suck. It's just freaking hard sometimes, right? Humans, yeah, a lot of humans suck, but Yeah. You know what I mean? You gotta laugh. You gotta laugh, right? And sometimes we're gonna have really cynical opinions. Sometimes we're gonna feel like a bag of garbage, and that's okay. Have a care plan. Have methodology. Have a protocol for when you feel like a bag of garbage. How can you nourish yourself without dropping an atom bomb in your life on the things that aren't working out, or giving up completely because you feel like a failure? You know what I mean? So just watch out for that, like Dory style lack of short-term memory. And as much as you can, bring in empirical evidence. One piece of empirical evidence is, guess what, darling? Your success rate for surviving shitty days, it's 100%. High fives, right? Yeah. So sometimes we gotta laugh. Sometimes we gotta put things into perspective. Sometimes we gotta watch a kid's cartoon and forget about life for a minute, right? Anything that you're experiencing right now is useful information. Just be careful how you take it. Any emotions that you're having right now is useful information, but be careful what you do with it. These are all awesome opportunities for us to make any necessary changes in your life, our lives. And Neptune, your ruling planet, just went direct. So Neptune is the planet of living our best lives, best possible outcome, right? Neptune is your ruling planet. It's been retrograde for a few months, and it literally just went direct. So now that it's moving forwards in your first house, in your sign, no matter what happens right now, the experience that's being cultivated for you by the universe, by the force, is to allow you, to help you see the best in yourself. And so any experience you're having of, like, maybe you feel like your efforts aren't paying off, maybe you feel like your job sucks, maybe you feel like you're just not making enough money, that's valid information. Don't take it and drown. Take it and be like, I deserve better. I am unconditionally worthy. I am unconditionally lovable. I'm definitely not perfect, but I'm working on myself, right? And if I'm not getting paid, if I'm not getting paid enough at my current job, I don't have to suffer. I don't have to feel like a loser. I can pack up and leave, and I can go get a different job. You know what I mean? Same for relationships. If I don't feel loved, if I don't feel safe, if I don't feel peaceful, F that. I'm going, I'm leaving. I don't have to be with anyone. I'm just going to ensure that I'm happy and healthy and safe, right? So whatever it is that you're learning from your life, whatever it is that you're experiencing right now, don't take it so hard. Don't beat yourself up. You are being given an opportunity to go where you're wanted, to go where you're appreciated, and to really, really, really align with the life of your dreams. So please don't give up hope. On December 15th, we have a full moon in Gemini on the same day that Mercury goes direct. So this really, really, really good news. The full moon in Gemini is going to activate your 4th and 10th houses, really putting a huge focus on the work-life balance that you have, and whether or not your career or your job supports your mental health, right? The work-life balance is very tricky, because if you can go to work and then when you come home, work stays at work and home is home, you're good. That's balance, right? But for a lot of people, if you're self-employed, if you have a stressful job, if you have a really emotional or draining job, then that means even after you leave work, you're spending a lot of time at home thinking about your job. Whether it be trying to recover, or trying to make yourself feel better, or trying to make yourself forget whatever it was, right? So if in any way you bring your work home with you in a way that is unsustainable or draining or healthy, what we get in that situation is that our home time, we're not recharging. And then every day we start with a little bit less and a little bit less and a little bit less until we get to a point where we're like, wow, I'm really freaking burnt out, right? So the full moon is going to really, really, really bring some clarity to the work-life balance that you have, the work-life balance that you want, and potentially even questions about self-employment or networking, seeking better opportunities, seeking what else is out there, but definitely go where the grass is greener. You know what I mean? Go where you're appreciated. Go where the fish are, as they used to say. December 19th is a very, very lucky, happy day. Jupiter and Venus are going to be dancing in the sky. They're both going to be in air signs, and they're going to make a really beautiful angle together, activating your 12th and 4th houses. For you guys, if you can dream it, you can be it. If you make it a high priority and you tell your higher power, this is my highest priority, this is what I want, speak and it shall be done, right? Ask and you shall receive. Speak it into being. I created a little mantra, a little statement of affirmation for each zodiac sign this week. Yours is, I speak my reality into being. So don't forget to use your words. Magic is spelling. And don't forget to ask your angels, ask your spirit team for help, because there really is magic and potential out there. So don't drown in situations where you're not appreciated, right? And then the sun moves into Capricorn December 21st, activating your 11th house. So for some of you, that's going to mean seeking higher ground, seeking a better situation, and finding it, finding that stability, finding that nourishment, finding that long-term career or the money or whatever it is. But also feeling as though your energy is appreciated, your work is meaningful. Because it's not just about a paycheck for you. It's about feeling like you're making a difference, feeling like you're channeling your soul's purpose. You know what I mean? Yeah, dream big. The opportunities are out there. And if you're not happy, you can change things. Mwah. I hope that helped. I hope it resonated. That's what I've got for you guys this week. I do have a little tip jar down below in the description box if you are inspired and able to share. Otherwise, if you want, you could like, share, subscribe, comment below. Sharing and subscribing helps me expand my reach. It would be super, super appreciated. Yeah, thank you so much for being here. I hope you guys have a magical full moon, and I will see you guys in 2 weeks. Mwah. Bye.